but I'm going to tell you now, Johnny, I'm coming back from Clearwater with a bit of a different vibe than I did last year.
Uh-oh, I knew it.
We'll talk about that today here on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
This is Kincade and Salciunas.
Quinyon, Cooper, Carter, Smith, Juergens, Davis. Those are 6 key young players you have to approach in the next 2 years off seasons. That's why they're shedding salary.
He can't do what he's done following previous Super Bowl years, which was handing out the thank you contracts to aging players or handing out big contracts to the wrong players. And this offseason, he has done the complete opposite.
Kincade and Salciunas. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good championship Monday morning, Philadelphia, man. Salciunas. Who am I?
What is your name?
Hot start, kid.
Okay, let's start it on O.
We gotta get our reps in. It's been a while. I've been off the air for a week, alongside my man John Kincade. Johnny, what's going on, man?
Welcome back.
It is
good to
good
have
to
you
be
back.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
It sounds like you must have had a good time this morning.
Yes, I've had more fun this morning already than my trip when I had strep throat.
Man, it's a whole nother issue altogether.
That's, I guess, the risk of going on vacation.
As long as you don't give it to me, I'm fine.
No, I'm good now, man. I'm all moxicillined up. All right, so I mentioned to you right there in the little teaser that last year when I was down in spring training and I was able to talk to a lot of the players and coaches and personnel, I left Clearwater with this sense that they were going to come out the gate hot. And the previous 2 seasons before last year, they did not, right?
They absolutely
putzed
did
around.
Not. Yes.
They putzed around so much in 2022 that it took until the final series to make the playoffs when they beat the Houston Astros in Game 1 of that final series. So they putzed around for a long time. And then, of course, we know what ended up happening. They got hot. They're a good baseball team. They get to the World Series and just unfortunately lose to that Astros team. They kind of putzed around in 2023, not as bad. But there were some.
It still was very mediocre.
There were some valleys,
start, sure.
Right? Yeah, there were some valleys. Last year they come out the gate red hot, and it was exactly the vibe that I got leaving Clearwater. That they were going to go in motivated. They were going to go in. At one point, you rolled your eyes listening to some of the conversation. I did.
I heard you doing interviews. I think it was the week before we started. It might have been the week before.
Yeah,
you were down. I think it was the
right.
week before we started.
Yeah.
So I was trying to say, what the hell am I going to be dealing with each day with Salciunas? And I'm listening to it,
Glad
and it was
start off with eye rolls.
And I was waiting to hear sunshine, lollipops, and ice cream.
But that's what I got.
It was like everybody was woo woo woo.
And for the first half of the season,
it was better than that.
And then of course the London series happens, and it kind of falls apart from there. This year, John.
Yes.
I leave Clearwater feeling that this team is going to be very good.
Okay.
But I wonder, could this be the last chance? Could this be the last dance? Could this be the last hurrah where this team really, you go into a season, you say, this team's going to be good. They're going to be in the playoffs. I know that for a fact. It's just about how far they make it in the playoffs.
Are you telling me, this isn't 2011 vibes? Because going into 2011, we were all feeling that team's going to win a World Series.
Right. No, I'm not there.
This is a vibe of the clock's ticking. Sand's running out.
So I'm sitting there at the St. Patty's Day game. I went to 2 games while I was down there, but I'm at the St. Patty's Day game. And that's when they kind of trotted out the opening day lineup because...
Yeah, we saw it again yesterday.
Packed house. Well, yeah, Kyle Schwarber in the leadoff spot.
Yeah,
And Wheels is the PA announcer down there. And he's making the announcements, and it's the names, right? And I'm like, yeah... They're running it back, and then you start looking at the ages of the players that they're running it back with. So your rotation, Zach Wheeler is 34, dominant. He's 34. Noel's 31.
Okay, when we start this, can we do this based on? Am I using the right premise to say to you, yay or nay, on next year? You're talking about this could be the last time, right?
Yeah, where
so
it's
that
means this core
you're worried
that's
about
together.
next year. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, go on.
One of your go-to relievers, and Matt Strahm is 33 and is already dealing with some shoulder stuff. I know he's coming back and he's going to
be ready
pitch,
for opening day.
but that's something to kind of keep an eye on. Your starting catcher is 34.
Uh-huh.
Your first baseman, who we all love, is 32 and is injured a lot.
Yep.
We don't have to sugarcoat. Bryce Harper gets hurt. Trey Turner is 31. Castellanos is 33. And then Kyle Schwarber, DH, is 32. And he's on the final year of his deal. So who knows who Kyle Schwarber is after this season. And then I'll give you the daycare. I put that in quotes because they're grown men now.
Are we not using that this year? I hope with on the Phillies broadcast and everything, I hope that.
Yeah, I think if you say it, you just know who you're talking about.
Correct.
Right? Like you know that it's Marsh, it's Stott, it's Alec Boehm. Boehm's 28, Marsh is 27, and Bryson Stott is 27.
You know what the daycare is? They're your kids who graduate college and 3 years later they won't get the hell out of your basement.
Right.
That's what the daycare is now. Get out. Go. Get out.
To that point, Stott is the exception. But I think I've seen who Boehm and Marsh are. Like, if anybody's still waiting for the Boehm power surge, it's Vince Velasquez all over again. Like,
okay,
he's got stuff, but he's not going to. The 25 home run season's never coming for Alec.
How about the 20? I called 20 the other day.
That would be nice.
That
would be more than we're
16
used to.
is what he averaged.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Brandon Marsh. Like, I think I know who Brandon Marsh is. Like,
I think we do.
I think guys have hit their ceilings.
Yeah.
And I think there are a lot of older players where you have to start thinking, all right, can they continue to play at this pace? Bryce Harper's still going to be good this year.
Sure he is.
I'm not saying he's going to fall off after this season. But I look around this core. I look around this lineup. It's very similar to last year's. I think we have to stop believing that certain guys are going to have either resurgences or are going to all of a sudden play differently than what they've been doing the last couple of years. Again, Stott's the exception because I think he can hit that 290, be that 290.
You're saying like a Real Muto who has been a downward. It's a down staircase on Real Muto.
It has been. Yeah.
And I heard people on the broadcast the other day saying, let's get him another 3 years. I'm like, how much further down the stairs do you want to go?
Yeah, he's 34.
I mean, my God.
He's caught a lot of innings. So I got the sense leaving Clearwater that this, and this is not like from the front office, right? This is me. This is Andrew Salciunas.
This is your gut instinct.
My gut instinct is they're going to be good this year, but it almost feels like it's all or nothing this year. You see what the Dodgers have built.
Yep.
If you read any article about Major League Baseball, the sneaky team in the National League is the Arizona Diamondbacks because they, like the Phillies, have a great pitching staff, but they're younger.
They're really young.
Their lineup is really young.
They're dynamic.
That takes a toll. After a while, when you're 32 like Bryce Harper is and is usually popping up on the injured list already for an extended period of time each season, when Trey Turner's 31 and is dealing with issues at the plate where we have not seen him have these issues until he came to Philadelphia, he's not going to all of a sudden change.
Yep.
He's not a 22-year-old that just needs to make a few adjustments. He's 31. It's starting to feel like clock's ticking here.
It almost looks like this would have been unfortunately, the contracts don't allow it.
Right.
But it might have been a good time to sort of revamp, get fresher, get younger.
Like the Eagles did 2 years ago.
And when you can't do, the Phillies are the anti-Eagles.
Yes.
The Phillies are the Golden Girls. I mean, honestly, compared to what the Eagles are doing they're going to enter the season potentially with 3 guys in their 30s. It's crazy. And they're expecting, more importantly, though, it's 2, and we'll get into it later, is the idea is that, but they're like, yeah, we're good. We're good.
Because they're a good
by the way, they are
baseball
good.
team.
They're very good.
Yeah.
They are 90. When you spend that much money and have that much talent, you better win 90 games. 90 games should be your floor when you have this much talent, this much pitching, this much starting pitching, and then this much talent.
Right.
I get what you're feeling, though. I get what you're feeling.
Like, they got old. Quick.
Is it quick? I've been saying this for 2 years, that this thing was built wrong. They didn't get old quick. I think your eyes are open to it.
Maybe. I mean,
it sucks.
Your backup players. Edmundo's 29.
Correct.
Cody Clemens, we're acting like he's still just Roger's little kid. He's 28. Like, it's not like he's a 22-year-old.
Seriously.
Where you're going, if something doesn't go well, at least you have Cody Clemens on the rise.
Dude, you're off our health care. Get the hell out of the house. You're not young anymore.
Weston Wilson's 30.
It's unbelievable.
So, think about that. Does this kind of feel like the last chance for this core? Because that's the sense I got leaving Clearwater this week. And I'm sorry to come in with a gloomy attitude.
That's not gloomy.
On
That's
this gloomy
realistic.
Day. You can text it. You can call in 610-632-0975. Now, also, toward the end of last week, Bryce Harper made some comments about this Phillies team in a series 2 years ago. We'll go through them next. It's Kincade and Salciunas. It's good to be back here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
The Philadelphia 76ers.
The Fanatic. It is good to be back. And again, I apologize for being real with you, I guess. The people down there, everybody was feeling great. Like, the booze was...
Of course they
The booze was flowing, the sun was shining, and it was spring training baseball. And so everybody was in a good mood, but it's just the sense that I got. When I heard Chris Wheeler going through the lineup the other day, twice, I was kind of like, yeah, all right. I believe the clock is ticking. So, Connor, you're much more bullish than we are, much more laid back. When it comes to this topic, do you get the sense that the clock is ticking as well? I'm curious to get your reaction, Mr. Locked On Phillies podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. The way this team is built, this is their last ride with this core. Now, some people are going to hear that are annoyed with the team right now and be like, yeah, if they don't win it this year, they're screwed, and I don't believe in them to win it. Like, this team will be, after this year, retooled to the point where they can still compete. So it's not like the Philadelphia Phillies, the organization's last shot in this Bryce Harper, Zach Wheeler, Trey Turner era. I think you could still rebuild this team. But for the players that you've known and loved for the past 3-4 years, this is pretty much this core's last ride.
Yeah.
You're right.
I mean,
and it's time for us to turn the page if they don't win.
right.
It's time to rip the Band-Aid off and also, too, not let the first baseman make personnel decisions. It's time to make the tough calls on what you're going to do, like an aging catcher. Like you got to make moves. You have to be willing to shake things up. And that's what they haven't been willing to do.
Yeah, they haven't. And
Whether they can or not. Maybe they've been handcuffed. I'm not saying that they haven't even thought about it, because I think they've tried to move Castellanos multiple times and found no takers.
Now, the handcuffing could be on their own doing, right? They gave the contracts.
It could be. It is of their own doing.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about maybe they couldn't break it up because people aren't taking it.
Right.
Now, for whatever reason, I think that Dave Dombrowski's always sort of had an eye on moving on from Castellanos.
Yeah.
And after last year, wow, he should look a few other places other than the Castellanos.
He was their most consistent player last year. All right, so do you have the Bryce Harper comments in front of you, Johnny?
So Bryce Harper's talking to Scott Glauber and doing a great job. Scott Lauber, I'm sorry, doing a great job in the Inquirer.
Yeah, he's great.
And it's like a setup of the season and a state of the team address, and it's a really awesome deep dive piece.
Yeah,
it's McClain-esque. Really, really good. Good job, Scott. And he's talking about the question from Scott was, the Phillies won more regular season games per year for the last 3 years, but lost one round earlier in the playoffs every single year. So how do you reconcile that? And how do you get this group over the hump? And he says there's the give and take of you like to win, you want to win, so you don't want to take away from winning the division. But it's about winning the pennant of the division series and getting further. In other words, he's telling you the regular season wins, they're cool, but they really don't mean a damn thing. It's about what you do in October. But he says, I think Arizona outplayed us. Outpitched us, outplayed us, outcoached us, everything. And then obviously the Mets last year, same thing. They outcoached us, outplayed us, outperformed us. Is there something in there that really doesn't belong in your mind? I believe.
I mean,
they weren't outcoached.
Last year
they were not out. I don't think they were outcoached in the Arizona series.
I think if you look at the Kimbrel decision and also only throwing Christopher Sanchez for like 1 inning.
Yeah, and I'll also say this: the Diamondbacks coached that team really well.
And if you don't hit
the way they the way the Diamondbacks handled their rotation, bullpens, and lineup. Who's the psycho?
Torey Lovullo.
No. Yes, he is a psycho.
He is a psycho.
But who's the outfielder that punched somebody over fantasy
Tommy
football?
Pham.
Tommy Pham. He got benched one game, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, that's a horrible decision." Then the next game they started me, it's a home run.
Comes out. But the outcoached. I'm going to tell you flat out. You didn't lose the Arizona series. You didn't come home here up 3-2. You came home 3-2. You were in the proper position.
Yeah, no, the players.
Don't be blaming the coaches for what crap happened. Then last year, if you're blaming the Mets series on the coaches, every pitching decision Rob Thompson made was the right one.
Yeah. They may not have worked, but they're the right ones.
The players let him down. Why outcoached comes out of his mouth?
Yeah,
I'm very disappointed.
Was sitting an all-star starter in Game 2 of a series, even though he had attitude issues. Was that something?
That's the game they won.
Was that something they questioned though?
Yeah, but guess what? None of the players backed him.
All right,
none of the players backed the guy
here's the
getting
deal.
benched.
Look, we'll continue this conversation because coming up next, last week you guys talked about Bryce Harper and the love affair in the city, and you asked me about it when I was down in Clearwater, and it was Bryce Harperville down there in Clearwater. But there are also people like Bill Colarulo. I'll explain coming up next. He feels a little bit differently, and I wonder, I mentioned about the clock ticking for the Phillies with this core. Is it put up or shut up time for Bryce Harper? I'll explain more coming up next. Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
opening week in baseball. I'm Connor Thomas, and we've reached the week of opening day for your Philadelphia Phillies. They'll open up on the road in Washington on Thursday against the Nationals. The NL East looks stacked heading into the season, but Jason Stark joined these airwaves last Tuesday, and he believes in the Phillies in one of the toughest divisions in baseball.
3 teams in the NL East: Phillies, Mets, Braves. Any of them could win. They all should make the playoffs. I think the Phillies, in a world where everybody is healthy, have the best roster and the best team.
We'll see if that does play out and if the health holds. We know the Phillies have already had a couple of injuries in spring training, so they made a move ahead of the start of the season, signing reliever Carlos Hernandez. The righty had a 3.3 ERA in Kansas City last year out of the bullpen. He should be in the Phillies' opening day bullpen. We're also 1 month away from the NFL draft as of today, so we'll keep you updated on what the Eagles are working on leading up to it. Flyers fell to the Blackhawks 7-4 yesterday. Sixers lost to the Hawks 132-119. The Sixers will face the Pelicans tonight at 8 p.m. You can hear that game live here on 97.5 The Fanatic. This update is brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app today. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
97.5 The Fanatic. Does this feel like the last chance for the Phillies, the last dance? Does it feel like the clock is ticking? Now, Connor did say yes as well. Now, we're all in agreement. That doesn't mean...
All of us are in agreement that it's going to be a
good season.
A very good year.
Very good season, yeah.
But that they better do something with it.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
I don't think that's outrageous, but there will be people who'll be like, I can't believe they're being negative. It's opening week. Oh, my gosh.
Well, last year, I still remember
enough.
at one point when they were playing as well as they were,
Yes.
I dropped the championship or bust line, and there were people that were upset with it. And it's like,
better be.
Like, no, this team is... This isn't the 2022 Vibes team anymore.
Also,
No.
this is not a negative conversation. This
It's
is
not.
a realistic conversation. We're just setting the stakes for the team. If they win, it's great, and no one's saying they can't win. It's just a lot of these players are aging out of their primes.
Yeah.
And you have to come to reality that this is probably this core's last shot.
Now, I do think part of the conversation is there's a little bit of fear involved.
Definitely.
Right? Like, that's, I'll be honest, the majority of my emotion when I have this conversation with you guys today is more built out of concern than let's go. Let's win it for the old Gipper. Like, it's more concern.
Different word, though. Not fear.
Yeah, just sorry.
It's concern. There's a totally different thing. We all think this is going to be a really good year.
Yeah.
But we're all concerned that this has been, the clock's ticking, baby.
Right. Absolutely.
The clock is ticking.
Now-
and if you don't believe it is, I'm going to tell you you're living in fantasy land.
Well, we'll get to our text messages coming up around 6:40, as we always do in the morning
Sure.
here. So I'm excited to hear what the people are saying about this topic. But the other thing we want to get into here is about Bryce Harper. So when I was down in Clearwater, 95% of the T-shirts and jerseys was Harper. Right?
Liv gave me a Harper for Christmas.
Yeah, like it's
I got my Harper jersey for Christmas.
when every time he gets announced, it's like,
Yes.
It was, St. Patty's Day, people were lit, so I get it. But the Bryce Harper ovations are still the loudest out of everybody. And look, he has been worth every single penny.
He's been fantastic for this organization, what they expected.
So there's been a couple of moments for people this offseason, I believe, of annoyance. I'll do whatever it takes. I would have gone.
I'm willing
Yeah.
to do. Like, I'm willing to do what the manager asks me to do.
Right.
Well, thank you very much, Bryce. We're proud of you, baby. And you know
Yes.
what? They're not, but
Gotcha.
another issue.
And now these comments about the D-backs and Mets series where he talks about the team being out-coached, and maybe he was just saying everything, right?
But that's not true.
It's not. Last year, you were not out-coached. You were outplayed. You were outplayed in almost every single inning of that series against the Mets.
And you came home, Game 6, Game 7 against the Diamondbacks. Your team was in the position it's supposed to be in. You have home field. You're coming home for 2. Got to win 1.
Yeah.
Don't tell me you were out-coached, Bryce Harper.
No.
Do not try to spin you were out-coached.
I'd argue you shouldn't have played another game at Citizens Bank Park in that series if Rob Thompson handles it right.
If that
But
team can't win one of those 2 games
you're
at
right.
home, it's ridiculous.
I'm with Andrew. I think it was just one of those. He's in an interview. He does an all-encompassing thing, so he doesn't look like he's pointing anything more out than the other. Just says, we didn't get it done across the board.
So,
But
before I left, I remember hearing Bill Colarulo on with Mike.
Okay.
And Bill seemed like starting to get bothered by Bryce a little bit. He still likes him as the player.
Sure,
and
absolutely.
and he loves him as the leader, and he's been worth every penny. But I got the sense, and Bill straight up said it on the air, like he was starting to get bothered by some of the comments.
is it fatigue? You think like
Maybe.
a fatigue?
So I'll ask you guys this question. Is it almost put up or shut up time for Bryce Harper? Because Harper does do a lot of the talking, being that he is the big paid player. He's the face of the Philadelphia Phillies, and we are so thankful that he brought them out of the mud, right?
Yes.
Paul Reed has the out the mud sweatshirt. He just buried the Sixers deeper in the mud.
We are so happy. We're so happy that Bryce Harper's come here
Right, exactly.
and been a part of this because baseball. My summers are a hell of a lot better since Harper's come to
Yeah,
town.
absolutely. But they've fallen short. They have.
Miserably.
And every year there's some sort of comment that's made or there's something that maybe rubs people the wrong way. And other than him being Bryce Harper, like there are times where you start going,
Dude.
come on, man. Like the not busting it out of the box because we're saying, oh, well, it's a long season. And it's like, well, if you're the leader of the team, you're trying to send the right message. And what happened the second half of last year when they were a lot more laid back?
I know Charlie wouldn't comment on it with you, But I guarantee you, if he doesn't bust it out of the box for Charlie Manuel, he'd be willing to take him right out of a game and say, bullcrap to this stuff about it being a long season, because he did it with the all-time hits leader of the franchise.
Right.
Multiple times.
Right.
Hustle matters. Hustle matters.
Harper's not going anywhere. All right, he's not going anywhere.
And we hope he's not.
But is it almost time where it's put up or shut up? And I say that next year. Let's say they don't win this year. Next year he makes another comment about the team. Are you just going to start rolling your eyes? Because Bill Colarulo was already there.
If he starts talking about something else being to blame than the players, yes, I will roll my eyes. Because if you're blaming Rob Thompson, and look, I have of the three of us, I am the one most likely to take issue with something Rob Thompson does. Of the three of us.
Yes,
and
you
Rob
are.
Thompson, absolutely, his fingerprints are not on the crime scene of Game 6 and 7 versus Arizona and that Mets series as a whole. I would have made every pitching move. And you called me on it last year where I was getting frustrated, and you're like, and you said to me, you wouldn't have done any differently, though. And I'm like, that is correct.
Yeah, Hoffman was the guy in those spots all season.
And I would have gone back to him again after he failed the first time. I would have gone back next time going, oh, he's not doing that again.
Yeah, you didn't think he'd have an ERA of infinity
Correct.
in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
And that's just
beyond.
kind of how it was. Connor, is it starting to become put up or shut up time for Bryce Harper?
Nah, it's not. I'm not even close to that.
Okay.
He is the furthest thing from any issue with this team. Comments, play, hustle, otherwise. He's everything that's right with this Philadelphia Phillies team, with the way that he handles stuff. And I brought it up with John when you were out because we were having the Harper discussion and comparing him to like other stars a little bit in the city. And the thing that I go back to is last year when the Dodgers won the World Series, Shohei Ohtani batted just a smidge over 100 in that series. But Freddie Freeman was like a deity. He couldn't get out. He was just hitting bombs every game. Harper has had his big moments. Harper has performed in the postseason. Harper, when he gets up to the plate, there's never really been a place where we're like, yeah, I don't feel good about this. There needs to be a full team effort, and that's more the problem with the Phillies. But I point like very, very, very little of what's gone wrong with this team at Bryce Harper.
No, it might not be with what's wrong with him. It's just the guy. When you're the face of the team, like people get annoyed with what Jalen Hurts says. The guy has to talk 2 days a week during the regular season. 3 days a week during the regular season, and sometimes he says stuff where we roll our eyes. Now he's put up.
Sure.
They've been to a Super Bowl. They won another Super Bowl. Joel Embiid. A lot of the things that he has said over the last 6 years, forget this season. This season's a disaster. A lot of the things that Joel Embiid has said behind a microphone has not been wrong, has not been untrue. Like it can't just be me and James. It can't just be I have a different team every single year. All that stuff that he has said has been true. However, when you yourself are part of your fault, you're not winning, you're not coming out of the second round, and you're the face and you're the vocal guy, you're the guy whose words matter most. They're the heaviest words.
They're the ones that matter.
At some point,
you use heaviest.
At some point, it's put up or shut up. And now the Phillies did get to a World Series a couple years ago, so Bryce Harper does have that for him. But at some point, you start ignoring some of the things that are said.
Yeah, but baseball's different. He's got to say that stuff because what's he going to say? We stink.
He doesn't have to say that they were outcoached, though. He doesn't have to point the finger. You say, it begins and ends with us.
He said us first.
Look at the money, not about the Mets series. He blamed the coaches first. The idea coaching was the first thing he said against the Mets, which had nothing to do with the Mets' loss.
Yeah, I think you're reading too much into those comments.
Of course you do.
Well, you always do, John.
No, it's not, though. He is absolutely. The coaches shouldn't have come into it, Connor. Look at the amount of money John Middleton's playing to that roster. Don't be blaming the coaches for gagging in the playoffs.
I
you
think
guys
you just listed
did that.
everything.
But they don't do that. Don't point at the play. Don't point at the managers.
It is good to be back.
But don't point at the manager. Don't point at the coaches. Point at yourselves. Point at the fact is, how much money is John Middleton paying this lineup? And we suck in the clutch against Houston, against Arizona, and against the Mets? How come we constantly gag when the pressure's on? That's where the pressure is.
Well, he didn't blame ownership.
Begin and end. Begin and end the conversation there.
All right, so coming up next, I want to check our text line for the first time this morning at 610-632-0975. Does this feel like the beginning of the clock ticking for this Phillies core? You look around, they got old. The quote-unquote daycare is getting older, and may have reached their ceilings. This is a good baseball team, but how much more time together do they have left? And then the conversation about Bryce Harper. Is it almost put up or shut up time? Now, individually, he puts up.
He does.
He does. The guy's going to be an all-star, MVP candidate, all that kind of stuff, right? He does put up. But he is the face of a franchise that has gone backwards over the last couple of seasons. So is it put up or shut up time for Bryce Harper and this Philadelphia Phillies team? It is Kincade Salciunas on this Championship Monday morning here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
We want to hear from you.
So text us at 610. on the week of opening day, Johnny's going to be heading down to D.C. for what, Game 2 of the 2025 Phillies season?
Yeah, we got my little cuz, Olivia D'Angelo. We're going to go see her Friday night for dinner down in D.C.
Nice.
So we're going to take the train down. She's working in the Capitol now.
Oh, big.
And then Saturday morning, we're going to do the Capitol tour.
Mm-hmm.
Then the White House tour.
Okay.
Then Phillies at 4 o'clock. 70 degrees and sunny, Connor Thomas.
Beautiful. That's
nice.
That's
Baseball
a great
weather.
day.
70
season.
and sunny in D.C. Jeff from D.C. is going to be sitting like a section over in
That's
front
cool.
of us. He's going to be more towards home plate. We're going to be like right behind home plate.
That's great.
And Jeff's there.
And that's the Sanchez start.
It's going to be it'll be the first start for Luzardo because Sanchez
right.
is going to get the home opener.
Right, okay.
And I think that is by the way, as much as I will critique the manager when I feel he deserves it, that's a great move, getting Christopher Sanchez. And last week, Connor was talking about it. He goes, that's an honor to say to Sanchez,
The home opener starter.
you give him the home opener start. You say, thank you very much. We locked you down. You're part of the long-term future. We love you.
Now, speaking of that, and we'll check our text line here momentarily. When I asked the question, does this feel like the last chance for this Phillies core? There are young players where you feel very good about moving forward. Christopher Sanchez being one of them, right? He's 28 years old, and he looks like he's just getting better.
Yes.
So you have him locked up. You will have Andrew Painter at some point. And we can only base things off of scouts, right? Andrew Painter is going to be a great pitcher in Major League Baseball. You're excited for the futures of Justin Crawford and Aiden Miller. Now, with that being said, I will ask this question when we talk about clock ticking. How much are you being aggressive deadline time with a team that might be clock ticking with some of those young prospects? Because here's the deal. Austin Hayes didn't cut it last year.
No, that really didn't pay off.
Tried warning you.
I understood the thought process. I was more bought into it than you were.
I was not. Hated it.
No, you did, and you ended up being proven correct.
And the lack of addressing center field, which, spoiler, they didn't do that this offseason either. Maybe they do come deadline time. The only problem is every single deadline in recent years, it seems like it's getting more and more expensive. And so you would have to pay up one of those top prospects. If the Phillies are once again coming out of the gate on fire and it's deadline time, are you going to say, hey, this team's good enough again like we did just last year and it clearly didn't work? Or are you going to be buyers at the deadline? But that means risking some of the future.
I absolutely want to see. Now, I think we got a little bit of a glimpse into it. And I was saying the broadcast this weekend, getting to hear a little bit of it. The Justin Crawford going to AAA.
Yes, that means he's close.
He's close to being on the big club at some point this year.
Yeah.
Not a critical part, but he is going to get a taste of the major leagues this year unless it completely implodes at AAA.
Right.
They believe he showed them enough last year down the stretch. So that's exciting.
Yes.
And Aiden Miller's a year away.
Right.
I mean, you can't touch him. You can't touch those guys.
No, the top three guys don't move.
Can't
but
touch
everybody else is on the table, and I expect the Phillies to be aggressive at the deadline.
So you do think this is the year, Connor, that they'll pull the trigger?
It depends on what trigger you can pull.
Well, I mean, as far as doing stuff that being more aggressive, as Andrew just pointed out. Like, because the last couple of years, they have literally said the same thing that they're saying going into this season.
We're
good. We're good. We're good.
They were almost too good at the deadline last year. Yeah, where it's just like, I think we're all right. Like, you kind of need them to, like, if they're going to hit that slide, hit it like 2 weeks ahead of the deadline and get Dave Dombrowski moving.
Right. Or you could have just realized that Johan Rojas and Brandon Marsh weren't going to cut
They
it.
they didn't see, how Dave Dombrowski didn't see it. I still don't know. But I think he thought he was remedying it by going and getting a left fielder.
Yeah, with Austin Hayes.
He thought he was going and sort of going to, I guess, put a Band-Aid on it.
Yeah, and Hayes was hurt. He wasn't really available, which is a huge part of that.
I understand that. But, like, when they first got him, John and I talked about it. I didn't hear – remember Rob Thompson said he was going to be an everyday starter? I didn't hear that. I was like, so they got a platoon guy? And John's like, no, you didn't hear Rob Thompson talk yesterday?
And he said he's going to be our everyday.
And I was like, really?
Yeah, it really didn't work out.
That's disappointing. So what are the people saying on the text line this morning? Do you believe – this is the beginning of the clock starting to tick for the Phillies, where this is the last chance? That's the vibe I got leaving Clearwater when I heard the starting lineup, and it's the same names that we have fell in love with because of a World Series run that happened 3 seasons ago, that means everybody's 3 years older. The daycare is no longer daycare, right? As John said, it's the kid that graduated
it's the kid that won't get the hell out of your house
and went back home to mom and dad.
Yes. Time to grow up. Time to move.
At some point, it's time to take your game to the next level, and a lot of these guys aren't. So, what are they saying on the text line?
We have a little bit of sunshine to start off the show here from Joe the Cynic. He says,
Wait a minute.
He says, how can anyone be optimistic with a team that's already going back on their lineup idea? With that, how can anyone expect their approach to change when it matters the most? Maybe Kepler on his contract year will hit 340 home runs to cover Marsh in center field.
He's not lying, and I have literally this weekend, as Dork Boy had a little bit of time, found 18 quotes that they are ignoring. That Rob Thompson's ignoring, that Dave Dombrowski's ignoring. The organization is just ignoring what they told us they were going to do. They're ignoring it.
What is that?
About the fact of all the changes that the different approach they were going to take, how things were going to be different this year. They got to shake things. We have to shake things up. We have to do things differently. You can't just come back and do the same things you did last year. We're not unleashing Trey Turner and his capabilities. We're not letting him the bases. We can't have the bases. We got to have the bases open so we can use some of our speed to our advantage.
Like Schwarber in the starting lineup, batting leadoff yesterday.
Yeah, it's good. I don't want I want to unleash players. I want to take the baseball man who's a legendary baseball man, and Dave Dombrowski, who's forgotten more about baseball than I know. I want to take him at his word that what he thought this team needed in October, November, and even early February, before they went to camp, that didn't just go into the vapors, because it appears that it has.
So, does this feel like the last hurrah with this Phillies team? Nobody's saying that they're going to have a bad year. It's just, does it have to be this year? Like the whole World Series or bust conversation. Does it have to be this season with this core group of players that are all pushing mid-30s now all of a sudden? Also, when Bryce Harper talks, are you starting to get to that, all right, Bryce, I hear you. It's time to put up or shut up. Because once players say the same things over and over again, like we have heard with Joel Embiid, like we have heard with other players like Jalen Hurts, Embiid hasn't gotten out of the second round, so people are tired of hearing him talk. Jalen Hurts won a Super Bowl. He can say whatever he wants at this point.
Or say nothing.
Bryce Harper's in that middle range where he's had success, but not the ultimate prize. It's Kincade and Salciunas. We reset today's topics coming up next. We still have a lot of other stuff in store for you as the first weekend of the tournament is over. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Almost to opening day. I'm Connor Thomas, and this update is brought to you by Delaware County EDSI. Don't miss the Spring Job Fair in Delaware County, Thursday, March 27th from 11 to 2 at the Springfield YMCA. More info at pacareerlinkdelco.org or on their Facebook page. We've reached the week of opening day for the Philadelphia Phillies. They're going to open up on the road in Washington against the Nationals this Thursday. The NL East, well, it looks like a pretty tough division this year. But Jason Stark joined these airwaves last Tuesday, and he believes in the Phillies among the Titans of the East.
3 teams in the NL East: Phillies, Mets, Braves. Any of them could win. They all should make the playoffs. I think the Phillies, in a world where everybody is healthy, have the best roster and the best team.
Now, health isn't guaranteed, and they've already had some issues with the pitching staff, so the Phillies made a move ahead of the start of the season, signing reliever Carlos Hernandez. The righty had a 3.3 ERA in Kansas City last year. He should be in the opening day bullpen. We're also 1 month away from the NFL draft as of today, so we'll keep you updated on what the Eagles are working on leading up to it. Flyers fell to the Blackhawks 7-4 yesterday. Sixers lost to the Hawks 132 and 119. They're going to play the Pelicans tonight. You can hear that game live here at 8 p.m. on 97.5 The Fanatic. This update's also brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Ricky Batalico.
Why can't you be that team that gets that stroke?
Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
You're
On this
very well
Monday
paced
morning.
this morning. You feel like energized.
Yeah, man.
Which is great.
No, the weird thing is I'm more energized this morning than I was my entire week of vacation. Now, being sick doesn't help.
Yeah, the sickness, I think you're coming out of it.
But when I wake up at 7, I'm more tired than I do when I wake up at 4. I slept too much. So it feels good to be back on
That's good.
my
We're glad
regular
to have you
scheduled programming.
Good.
All right, so here's what we've been talking about. And I want to play this audio for you that Connor's been playing his update from Jason Stark. And this goes to one of my points. So I got back from vacation on Saturday, and I was down in Clearwater. Went to a couple ball games while I was down there. By the way, it's a Championship Monday on The Fanatic, presented to us by Pierce Phelps Bryan Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. Visit opaybryan.com. And as good as I believe this team will be this year, when I was out there hearing Chris Wheeler announce your starting lineups, and you heard the same names, and we've been talking about the running it back for a while now, I decided, how old are these guys? And they're getting up there.
They're one of the oldest teams in baseball.
Yeah, so they are the 6th by average age, 6th oldest team in baseball, behind the Blue Jays, Padres, Cubs, Rangers, Dodgers. Now, the Dodgers are going to be very, very good this year. Nobody's complaining about their age.
Yeah, they're just going to buy young guys.
But the Phillies are teetering, right? They're teetering between, are they going to play up to the level of the Dodgers, or could this be the last year of this core? And when you're the 6th oldest team in baseball, you're seeing how quickly you can age in this sport. And we have been very lucky with the health for some of these guys, right?
Very fortunate.
Zach Wheeler, I know he's missed time, but we've been very lucky, big picture-wise, with Zach Wheeler and his health. Aaron Nola doesn't miss starts. Been very lucky about that.
That is, Aaron Nola will forever be my biggest memory of him.
Yeah, that he was always
is that he's
always
the
going.
dependable guy, and it's never as bad as people make it out to be.
No, it isn't. But he's 31. At what point does that stretch of not missing starts come to an end?
Absolutely.
That is a legitimate concern to have. By the way, he was born in June, so he turns 32 during the season. And he's on a big contract, just like Wheeler, just like Harper, just like Real Muto, just like Castellanos.
Keep giving them out, baby.
All these guys that are getting up there. So I asked the question, does this kind of feel like the last hurrah with this team? Because I got that sense leaving Clearwater. You look around, and a lot of the, Matt Strahm is 33 years old. Jose Alvarado, who's been a damn beast this spring, he's turning 30.
By the way, I'm trying to do. Connor was milking me through last week. Some trying to help me out with some pain in my back.
Yeah,
getting back, trying to do this post-cancer recovery, lose some weight, feel good. Alvarado looks like a freak.
Yeah.
He looks fantastic.
And he's been pitching like
He looks in great shape.
Right. And he's been pitching
it's unbelievable. Jose.
And then the daycare, in quotes.
Yes.
Marsh is 27. Jeez. When is the top prospect, Brandon Marsh, going to all of a sudden show up? 5 years ago? Because he's 27. So, who he is who he is, in my opinion. Bryson Stott, 27. I think he has the resurgence this year. I think maybe that wrist injury was enough to really hamper him last year. And then Bohm, he's 28. Bohm's not becoming a different player this year.
I had a baseball executive share with me that, by the way, he feels that yesterday the Phillies got a steal.
Yeah, Carlos Hernandez is a great sign.
He thinks that is a steal. A rival baseball executive.
98 miles an hour.
A rival baseball executive said to me something that you always talk about. He said, boy, the Phillies have really figured out these fire thrower things.
Yeah, dude, Matt Klentak was one of the dumbest GMs. Let's get Peter Moylan or whoever. Who was the guy? Not Peter Moylan.
Peter Moylan's a good dude. He's my Australian buddy.
I know, but he pitched like Moylan.
No, exactly.
What the hell was that guy's name that threw the Frisbee 88 miles an hour? Stop with the slow relievers. Bring in some gas.
And this is a rival baseball executive. And he says, damn, the Phillies have really figured out the flamethrower. He loved the pickup. So it's a rival executive saying, that's a great one on Dave Dombrowski's part, picking him up there. But it is just, they're the same.
And so I'm going to play this clip for you. You're listening to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN, WPN HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia, BZ Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. The Hall of Famer Jason Stark joined the best show ever last week, as he does every single week during baseball season. I love when Stark's on weekly because he always just comes with great information, great nuggets, great storytelling. And he was on with the best show ever, and he obviously started talking about this upcoming season for the Phillies. And take a listen to what he has to say. This is kind of like the Bryce Harper thing, where Bryce Harper talks about how, hey, we were outplayed, we were outcoached, we're a good baseball team. And I wonder if it's put up or shut up time for a guy like Bryce Harper with this roster. Here's Jason Stark saying something that's not wrong. Take a listen.
3 teams in the NL East: Phillies, Mets, Braves. Any of them could win. They all should make the playoffs. I think the Phillies, in a world where everybody is healthy, have the best roster and the best team.
So, sorry, that was with the Phillies hot stove with Connor Thomas.
With Connor Thomas,
and Ricky Vitalico.
Which, by the way, is really, really strong.
Damn right it is.
It's a fun show.
So
Ricky does do a great job on it.
Yes, he does. I'll pick it up.
As do you.
You heard him say at one point in that clip, when healthy, this is one of, if not the best rosters in all of baseball. He's not wrong in saying it. But at what point does somebody go, all right, but what has this best roster gotten me? Last year.
That's an I'm going to tell you right now, if that's you, I think you're a bit of an ungrateful. You're a bit of an ungrateful SOB. Because I know this, despite as much as I'll bitch about it, it's been a pretty damn good.
It has been.
Like, we've had a really nice run for the last few
You know,
years.
I feel. I say that we're in the golden era right now, and people laugh at that. But my golden era, Connor and I's golden era. But when I hear him say that, it kind of goes back to the, wake me up come playoff time conversation.
And I don't like those people either.
I know you don't, but I imagine those are the same people that would feel that way. You hear that they have this best roster, and then when it comes down to real baseball time, playoff time, it's funny. I was when I did the Q&A with Jason Worth and Larry Boa, they both had a great line. They were talking about analytics. A lot of the questions were about usage of analytics in sports and how they're not like the biggest fans of it, as you can imagine.
Right.
But Larry had a great line, and so did Jason. They agreed. With all the analytics from game 1 to 162, come playoff time, you go right back to the old school. You go back to moving runners. You go back to just put it in play.
No, we don't.
We don't.
But we don't. We absolutely ignore that and say, we don't need to do that. But
other teams do.
Smart teams do.
What did the Mets do to beat you? They went back to old school baseball. They weren't just hitting moonshots. I know Lindor was the kill shot with the grand slam, but they played baseball.
When to be aggressive on the base paths, when to put pressure on the defense.
Yeah.
Things like that.
You don't steal bags during the regular season. Then all of a sudden playoff time, it's, we got to start doing things again.
That's another reason why.
And it was an interesting way of looking at it. Like, old school baseball's dead until October.
But Larry and Charlie do not. And I don't hear it with Worth. You have to tell us a little more. Is they don't disregard analytics.
No, they don't.
They just want it as one component.
Right. Don't just rely on it as
Correct.
your team.
Don't be ruled by it.
Yeah.
But you should know it. If you ignore it, you're a fool.
Yeah.
Honestly. If data's there and you can review it, you can decide how much you want to put in it.
And analytics has become like this umbrella term. Like, launch angle is technically analytics, but it's now also approach. If you're just going for the long ball, there's ways to go against that with your own pitching analytics or the opposing team's pitching analytics. And when you're not a balanced, approached lineup, which the Phillies are not, boom or bust is fun when it's hot.
Oh, yes.
But when you're not clicking, you get into trouble. And that's what the Phillies have done the last 3 playoffs. You can make the case because the no-hitter in the World Series. I just don't kill them for that World Series. But the last 2 years, when it came time to the bat starting to get a little cold and they were grabbing the bat a little too tight, they weren't finding other ways of winning baseball games. They relied on the long ball too much. They didn't rely on other ways of scoring runs, whereas the Mets, if they weren't doing something the first 5 or 6 innings, they found a way to score runs later in the game.
Okay, we both know that in 22, which was an incredible run. It was so much fun. But that when you're up 2 games to 1 in the World Series, your bats can't go that cold.
No.
I don't care how good you think Houston is. You played great in the first 3 games. Then you get no hit in a World Series. And then you just come up like it was like small.
Yeah.
You came up small. But nobody knocks them for losing a World Series to the Astros.
No.
If they lose the Astros, at least they fought. And I do think they fought. Very, very strong.
Absolutely.
But I mean, like, I have no bad feelings about 22. I have retching in the stomach feelings about 23 and 24.
I will never forgive them for 23. 23 is more painful to me than 24.
Well, I think your expectations going into 24 were also like we were all a little nervous on the Mets series. Like, come on.
Yeah. You shouldn't have been nervous against that team.
But we were.
But we were. So let's check our text line coming up here in a little bit at 610-632-0975. When it comes to the Phillies, do you believe the clock is starting to tick? That this is kind of the last hurrah with this core? Schwarber's a free agent after this season. Castellanos will have 1 year left, so his contract will be a little bit easier to move, in my opinion. And then the daycare, in quotes, if it's the same thing for all three of those players, you're going to realize that ceilings have been hit.
Yep.
And it's time to either replenish or it's time to hope that Aiden Miller can take over for Alec Boehm, or you get aggressive. We're talking about trading Ranger Suarez. Why couldn't you trade one of the daycare guys?
Well, I don't know what you're going to get. But who cares? Open it up. Change things up.
Does it feel like it's ticking? We'll check our text line coming up next. Also, the NCAA tournament, the first weekend is over. The first two rounds are over. And John said something before the show that I took note of. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Mike Missanelli.
I feel there's going to be a little slippage. They won the Super Bowl. It's a natural slippage.
back to our text line on our Phillies discussion this morning. We are through the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament. So I was in Clearwater when it started. So once I started feeling better and we were at the bars, the games were on, and it was fun. Just having the games on. And that was kind of the sense I've gotten. Now, this is my opinion. And yesterday, my Cooper's buddy, Benny.
Benny?
It was his 3rd birthday party yesterday.
Not Slippin' Benny.
No, not Slippin' Benny. It's just
Because if Slippin' Benny came to a 3-year-old's birthday party, I don't know.
You never know.
I think it could be trouble.
So Benny it was his 3rd birthday party. Coop and Benny are born a week apart. They're buddies. And the tournament was on. And people were it was just on.
It was just background music.
It was background. Since when did the NCAA tournament become background noise?
We were we dined yesterday. We dined at Xfinity Live.
Okay.
Before we went over to celebrate Liv's boyfriend's 21st birthday.
Big day.
So I took him to play blackjack.
That's cool.
But first we had a couple drinks, and he didn't get carded. He was pissed because he doesn't look. He looks like he could pass for a little older. And so we're in NBC Sports, the arena.
Yes.
Right in front of the
great spot.
Right in front of the bar, and one of the Half Moon staring right at it.
Yeah.
No energy, complete background music.
Right.
And it was second half of Florida, Connecticut.
That was a great game.
And 2/3 of the people were just in private conversation. There's no a huge foul. You're hearing, whoa!
Right.
Nothing.
So here's a quote from John Kincade before the show. I always like to jot these down. I think it's been pretty lame.
Yeah.
Now, here's the deal. I agree with you. And driving in this morning, listening to the ESPN overnight just to kind of catch up on some things, all the talking shows now are talking about how NIL is killing the tournament. Because if you were one of those teams last year, like you're a 14 seed, and you had a guy go off, what's happening? The major schools are going,
they're going to steal him.
We missed this guy from recruiting because he's from a small town. Let's pay him some money. He's going to come over.
Go.
And he's either going to start for us or he'll be the 11th guy on the bench. And that guy realizes that he doesn't have a chance to make it to the pros, so he's going to take the money to probably not play all that much on our major program. And so these smaller schools, this is a very chalky tournament so far. You've had your 12-seed upsets, which is almost like destined at this point, but there was no 13 through 16 seed that won. And in the second round, it's been pretty chalky. There haven't been major upsets. And even the games itself, Florida UConn was great. The Maryland game last night was awesome.
Yes, there's been moments.
But just a few moments.
And they haven't been really one shining moment. They've been one traveling moment. Maryland had one traveling moment.
Oh, we'll discuss in the headlines.
They did.
And then I go to Fox, right? And I'm like, all right, what did I miss anything at the tournament? The lead headline of the NCAA tournament is Amir the Aura Khan.
Yes, enough of that.
Is going to NC State. In case you guys don't know who he is, he's the manager of McNeese State. He was the guy that would come out with the boombox leading the team out.
He's awesome.
It was a cool thing.
No,
right?
he's a smart guy with the NIL.
Yeah. And so he's now following the coach from McNeese State to NC State because they had a nice run, so everybody's getting promoted, and he's now making a run. The fact that the sports manager of a basketball team is the lead story tells you all you need to know about this tournament.
It has been it's been a snore fest. Overall, it's been a snore fest. They have not had it hasn't had the excitement edge of the seat because people don't follow the sport the way they used.
Well, and there's no going back. You're not going to end NIL.
No, you can't. And by the way, I'm thrilled for the kids getting paid.
I am too. I am pro kids getting paid. Let me make that clear.
I'm also, I'm very much anti. I hate what it's done to
I know. Now, I imagine the Elite Eight's probably going to be pretty good because it is the best programs.
Sure.
For those of you who are Tyrone is an anti-upset guy.
Right. Okay.
Because the upset happens.
I'd rather see Tyrone and I are in lots of. I'd rather see the better teams advancing
and you're going to get
playing.
that. You are going to get that. So the Elite Eight might be a lot of fun now. Whereas it used to be the first 2 days of the tournament, Maybe the first 2 days are losing the luster, and it's going to be the Elite Eight that's going to be a little bit more exciting. But what college basketball casual rides through the whole tournament once their bracket's busted or once, like, the fun stories are gone? Like, that's the problem. And I'm concerned.
I did not know where you were going to fall on this when I gave it to you today. We talked about it.
Yeah.
But we didn't talk it out.
Right.
I didn't know where you were going to go. And I was like, okay, if Andrew tells me today this has been a great tournament and this has been so must-see
it's been
TV,
boring.
It's been boring as hell.
Yeah.
Now, here's
Donner?
what I'll say. Going into the tournament, a lot of people were looking at this and saying it may be the most chalky one we've seen in recent memory.
Right.
Because the top teams are just so much better. Now, is that just a one-off year, or is that the result of NIL coupled with the transfer portal? I think we have to see where everything goes in the coming seasons. And the Amir Khan thing being the biggest story, like, I don't know, Sister Jean from Loyola was, like, all over the place.
Yeah, but they were winning.
No,
but the Gays lost in game 2.
I understand. I'm just saying there have always been those storylines outside of the actual players that have grabbed headlines. It has been a quiet tournament compared to previous years. So I'm not saying you guys are wrong. I'm just saying this may be a one-off because the top teams are just so much better. And I don't know if that's just a year or if that's because of the new structure.
I think it's the NIL, Connor. I think
Very
that
well
just is that the one thing I'm saying is this. And by the way, every kid, whatever decision they make, God bless you.
Right.
My daughter graduates college in 6 weeks or so. And why is she at college? To get paid. To get a career, to build a career, to make money, get paid.
Right.
So I say God bless every one of these kids that makes the decision for them. But it does appear that there's a lot of kids now that would rather take a paycheck and be the 9th guy on a bench at Duke than be starting at somewhere else.
Well, and then remember the old transfer rules? Like, you weren't allowed to play.
You had to sit out a year.
Well,
and I think that sucks because coaches can do it. I don't think players should ever have that.
Well, that's gone.
Right.
Vlad Golden. Remember, he was in Florida Atlantic last year. Beat Temple actually upset them in the conference tournament. He's now like the leading scorer at Michigan.
Correct.
Now, great for him. His life may have changed. He's now at a major program and is playing well.
By the way, I think he got close to $100,000 too.
Yeah. It just changes the tournament.
It does.
All right, coming up next, we'll check our Phillies text. That went a little longer than expected, but look, it kind of sucks, the tournament losing its luster. But also, I read an article this morning on Fox about breakout players in 2025. We go through who they predict in the NFL, by the way, and which one of them is an Eagle. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The Phillies make a bullpen move. I'm Connor Thomas, and ahead of their opening day game, which is coming up this Thursday, the Phillies made a move in the bullpen, signing reliever Carlos Hernandez. The flamethrower and righty had a 3.30 ERA in Kansas City last year. Part of this is because of injuries to Matt Strahm and Ranger Suarez, so he should be on the opening day roster in the pen. And Jason Stark, Hall of Fame baseball writer, likes that roster that he's going to be a part of. He joined these airwaves last Tuesday and talked about the strength of the Phillies compared to their NL East opponents.
3 teams in the NL East: Phillies, Mets, Braves. Any of them could win. They all should make the playoffs. I think the Phillies, in a world where everybody is healthy, have the best roster and the best team.
The Phils will open up with a divisional game. Not either of those other two teams, though. They're on the road in Washington on Thursday for their first game of the year to take on the Nationals. We're also 1 month, as of today, away from the NFL draft. We'll keep you updated on what the Eagles are working on leading up to it. Flyers fell to the Blackhawks 7-4 yesterday. Sixers lost to the Hawks 132-119. They're going to play the Pelicans tonight at 8 p.m. That game you can hear live here on The Fanatic. This update is brought to you by Moyer Indoor Outdoor Services. Follow Andrew Salciunas' lead and get a jump on a lush green lawn this spring right now. Go to emoyer.com for free estimates. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Bill Colarulo.
Even if it is a
Fanatic on this Championship Monday morning. Presented to you by Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. Visit nopaybryant.com. I want to get into this NFL. The guys that are going to break out this year around free agency. And
they can always get proactive.
I
mean, seriously. I don't even understand why they write these stories anymore.
They do have an Eagle on the list. We'll get to that momentarily. But
Eagles.
I do want to check out some text messages when it comes to the Phillies. Does it feel like this is the last hurrah with this squad? Because we've also seen with this franchise, holding on to players too long hurts you. They did that with Utley, Rollins, Howard,
Ruben Amaro Jr.'s admitted it. Like that maybe they got a little too sentimental back in the day and held on a little.
And maybe Dave Dombrowski does not get sentimental, even though they haven't won a World Series. But maybe he doesn't hold on to these players too long, even though I do believe this year he's already kind of made that mistake.
Kind of.
But maybe this year is the last year where guys are, I'm not just talking about chances of winning, are on this roster. So what are the people saying on the text line this morning, Connor?
Yeah, so we have a couple people checking in on that Bryce Harper conversation of put up or shut up that we were talking about earlier, too. Bruce checks in and says, Harper can say what he wants and do what he wants. All-star year after year, MVP candidate. Main reason for pulling this franchise out of the dumpster and relevant again. His postseason stats are terrific. Harper is not the reason for the playoff shortcomings. However, it's time for Trey Turner to put up and shut up. Also the bottom of the Phillies lineup.
Now, I can make the case that Harper was part of the problem in 23.
He absolutely was.
So I know it's a long.
I mean, we're forgetting that series, but he absolutely was.
Yeah,
in that series,
that Diamondback series, he did fall short.
They tightened up a bit, but his numbers are freaking absurd.
Yeah.
His postseason numbers as a Philly, he's the best, arguably, the best Philly all-time postseason.
Right.
That you'd want it to play.
Absolutely.
That includes everybody.
Yeah.
And we got some potential Hall of Famers.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think about, like, I hear that text, and then I think about a guy like Embiid, who, yes, you can pinpoint specific games in the playoffs where he was the reason why they ended up losing games, but we're talking about pulling a franchise out of the mud. He did the same thing.
Yeah, but listen, basketball's different. If the Phillies were a basketball team, Bryce Harper would have the ball 90% of the time.
Right.
And he would go dunk in people's face left and right until they win.
That's true.
I still, and we will always debate it, it's just going to be our family debate, is that I don't think the Sixers ever got out of the mud.
Because they never got out of the second round.
I mean, that's still muddy. They're still in the muddy.
No,
they so
dirty.
underachieved.
It is dirty.
And this Oklahoma City thing's finally going to put that to bed.
We'll see.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I see him play. Oh, hold on.
Okay.
Hold on.
We'll see.
Mr. Nobody's a contender until they're a contender.
No, we'll see.
What else we got in the text line?
All right. We also have a check-in here from Eddie in Camden who says with the Phillies as far as this being the last ride, we have a team full of sluggers. I'm not disagreeing with small ball in the postseason, but can they do that? We've always lived with a long ball approach besides Alec Boehm and Bryson Stott. So if they can't change the approach correctly, this could be the last ride.
Trey Turner, a long ball only guy?
Nope.
I think Trey Turner put the ball in play.
Trey Turner used to be not swinging for fences. His swing didn't have those. And Larry Anderson brings it up on the radio broadcast. Mm-hmm. He didn't used to have the big looping swings, the big, like, swinging for the fences all the time.
Right. He's still been a plus 20 home run guy multiple times.
Yeah,
so
he has been.
He's not in the same category as Stott and Boehm, but I understand
But then
what
I
you're
see
saying.
a guy with, like, Brandon Marsh, who is Mr. Loop, and I don't need him to be Mr. Loop.
The approach doesn't change.
Like Brandon, I part of the reason why I get so frustrated with Brandon Marsh is because he swings like he's Kyle Schwarber, and it's like you're not, my man.
So one of the things too is that baseball executive.
Yes.
One of the I'm like the obsession with Brandon Marsh, and he says when executives make deals, we want our deals to look good because they're being judged, and you would have had your catcher of the future here. Instead, you have Brandon Marsh.
The untouchable Logan O'Hoppe, who then was touchable two days later.
And then you ended up trading away your he would absolutely be your catcher.
Now, I'll say this. I'm glad that they made the decision for now that he's going to be the everyday starting center fielder.
So you are glad. Explain why, because Connor and I
don't want platoons. Like, just tell me who the hell is in the lineup, man. Like, that's all.
I got you.
And look, do I think Brandon Marsh is going to rake against left-handed pitching? I do not. But do I know that for certain? I haven't had the chance to see it.
Okay. Did you get the...
I'm not a big Rojas guy.
I know you're
I don't
not.
like
Well,
this,
that's it.
I don't like center field of this team. Like I like the center fielder of the World Series champion Philadelphia Phillies is not on this roster.
I think that's fair, and he very well may be down in AAA.
Could be.
Which it could very well be the case.
Well, then we're going to be waiting a while.
Well, I don't know. I mean, he'll be your starting center fielder next year, correct?
Probably, yeah. Could be.
By the organization has told you they believe he's going to be the center fielder next year.
Look, if he's on a tear and it's one of those, man, we can't keep this guy down anymore, is Brandon Marsh and or Johan Rojas enough for you to say, man, sorry, you're just blocked? Because they're not. This isn't a Ryan Howard, Jim Thome situation.
No, he's not blocked, but there's a difference between saying someone's blocked and having a guy starting in the postseason at, what is he, 20, 21, and saying go out there and play in the NLDS.
Hey, I've seen teams do it every single year.
And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, right?
All right, but I've seen it not work with Johan Rojas and Brandon Marsh. That's my point with one of my issues with this team and the way that it's constructed. Like, I'm gonna go to bat with Harper and Turner and Castellanos and Schwarber because I've seen them do it at the major league level at a very high level. I have not seen it at a very high level with some of these other younger players that have been here now for multiple years. It's not like this is Marsh's first season.
But I'm going to tell you, though, is that you have not given Rojas the opportunity.
Well, because I think I know.
No, they did the Rob Thompson thing like they did with leadoff. With it, you have not seen him enough. Your eyes, as much as a baseball fan you are,
yes,
you have not given him enough opportunity for your eyeballs to tell you, well, I know what he is. If we're still trying to figure out what Brandon Marsh is at this point,
right?
Johan Rojas has not had nearly the opportunity. And by the way, he's a better career hitter. It's better for average.
Yeah, but if you're looking at those two hitters,
and he's a better defensive player.
That's true.
Better defensive player.
Better batting average. Better defensive player.
Yeah, but he's like very, very clearly not a better offensive player than Brandon Marsh.
Like if you were to ask me,
because he hasn't had the opportunity to show. If he had all the at bats that Brandon Marsh has been given in his career and all the opportunities been given here, I'm going to tell you what we think we know of Johan Rojas may be not a lot better, but better.
You're nine hitter in the order.
Yes, and this lineup with all that Dave Dombrowski's paying. And John Middleton's writing checks for, they should absolutely be able to afford a defensive force that is a 9-hole hitter that is not, and then set up some speed on the base paths so then Kyle Schwarber can knock you in.
Gotcha.
Should be allowed.
We'll keep on checking our text line. This is going to be our main topic today. But Fox did an article on the breakout candidates in 2025. So the first one they give is
for the Birds.
All the NFL, but there is an Eagle on here. First name they give is J.J. McCarthy. Obviously, he got hurt in his rookie season last year. He is Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison to throw to.
I think he can be everything that Brock Purdy's been.
Yeah, and I think he can be maybe what Sam Darnold's been minus $100 million.
I'm a little less confident to go that far, but that's bold. I like it.
Justin Fields with the Jets. I'll believe it when I see it. Ricky Purcell with the 49ers. Remember, he was the player that got shot before the season started last year. He was their first-round pick. They do have Milton Williams on here for the New England Patriots. They have Caleb Williams for the Bears. That Latu, the edge rusher that
the Eagles were tied to.
And Andrew DiCecco liked him a lot with the Colts. And how about for your Philadelphia Eagles, Azeez Ojulari?
I'm telling you.
Here's what they write about him. This could be the next great bargain signing by general manager Howie Roseman. Just 1 year, $4 million. Ojulari had 6 sacks in just 11 games with the New York Giants last season. And in Philadelphia, he'll not only have a deep defensive line room around him, but he'll also be reunited with several college teammates from Georgia.
If you told me right now, Azeez Ojulari, and you asked me to make the wager over 7.5 sacks, I'll bet over.
You're going to bet over?
I would bet over right now.
I love that.
And feel incredible confidence in it because one of the things with Ojulari, that he's done it since college and he's done it in the pros, that is everybody goes by sack numbers. See how many times he hits the quarterback?
It's big, yeah.
Because if he's hitting the quarterback that often as a Giant, how many times are they going to be sacks as an Eagle?
And he's going to be a rotating piece.
Correct. He's going to be fresher.
I love that signing. You guys asked me about it last week. I know you guys did a whole show on it. I love that signing. That was one of those, all right, you're feeling better about the Eagles offseason because a lot of the offseason was subtraction. and they added a good player there.
Our source at Georgia football gave us some good information.
Yeah, some pretty good information. Speaking of the Eagles, we go from Fox to CBS. They gave grades following the first wave of free agency. What did they give the Eagles? I'll have you guys guess, and then I'll tell you what they said. We'll also go through some of the other teams in the division, and we'll continue to check the text line.
DeCecco? What?
Yes, he's on my brain, man. Football guy
Later
stuff.
in the week.
We'll check the text line about this Phillies discussion about whether or not this is the last hurrah. It is Kincade Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Tyrone Johnson.
We can't be so down on it.
Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. John and I know way too much about one another.
Way too much.
Well,
that was oversharing a bit, but it was all right.
When you talk during the commercial break, you catching up. Sometimes you get the bowel movements.
Sometimes that's what it gets.
It happens.
All right, so
everybody poops.
We'll get back to our Phillies text message.
Everybody poops.
Get back to our Phillies text messages in a second. CBS, they did the first wave of free agency grades. This is one of these articles that makes Jeff McClain's eyes roll. Remember Jeff McClain?
Oh yeah, Jeff always. Yeah.
He's like, I don't get into grades and stuff like that.
Well, grading stuff early is always.
Yeah, especially like the Bears, who I think have had a hell of an offseason. It was like day one of free agency. Legal tampering, I don't think, had struck yet, and it was the Bears have won the offseason.
Bears are winning, baby.
By the way, they gave the Minnesota Vikings an A+. I believe that is the only A+ across the board on this article. So take a guess, because they take into account who they gained, but also who they lost.
Okay.
So what do you believe the grade is for your Philadelphia Eagles?
A C.
I would go C+.
Interesting. You guys are close. They gave the Eagles a B-.
Yeah, that's fine.
Is that Ojulari? Is that Ojulari? What?
Well, okay. I don't know what more they.
Well, you got
to
take. You got to take though. I would think for this grade, if I was doing the project, I'm going addition, subtraction, right?
Yeah, I got you.
So I can't give them a higher than a B-.
I thought it would be a B because I don't know what else they would have done. That I'm grading on a curve. Look, I needed curves to get me through, right? So I look at the situation that the Eagles have been in. Clearly, there were more cap issues than we probably expected, and I will give Joe Banner the credit there for putting that tweet out early on in free agency. But they re-signed Zach Bond. Really the only guy they could have brought back. We sort of thought maybe you could have brought back Becton at that price, but they do have a guy waiting in the wing in Tyler Steen, and they did trade for a guard. So the departures, Josh Sweat, Millen Williams, Isaiah Rodgers, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Darius Slay, Mekhi Becton, Oren Burks. Those are big names, man. I remember seeing that tweet we had from that guy a couple weeks ago saying they lost no important pieces. That's a lot of important pieces.
But as Connor and I did on the show the other day, after the first wave of free agency, what did MGM Resorts at all their casinos tell you? Eagles favorites to win the NFC, Eagles favorites to win the Super Bowl.
Right. They're still a very good football team.
It's amazing that you could lose that much.
Yeah. So, I don't know. What more did you want them to do? And that's why when I see a B-, I go, all right, B-. But we know this team inside and out.
I'm excited for. I don't feel as bad as I felt. The only thing I still am very anxious about is Chauncey Gardner-Johnson being gone.
Me too.
But I do believe that there is going to be a safety drafted, and that is going to be there. That the safety. I'm going to be shocked if a safety doesn't come off the board early for the Eagles.
Okay, I like that. By the way, other teams in the division, the Commanders got an A-, so pretty high grade for them. We'll see if they can continue playing the way that they've been playing. The Giants got a B+, so they actually got a pretty good grade.
Shout out Jameis Winston.
Yes, that's right. And the Dallas Cowboys, it's interesting, the Chiefs got an A-. I thought they've had a pretty offseason.
It's been weird for them.
The Dallas Cowboys got a C-.
Well, the Cowboys.
Amazing.
Here's another thing too. Do you grade it all? If you were doing this project, do you grade it all on the Cowboys really needed to have something go well, and they didn't do it, so that affects their grade, or do you just try to evaluate it just on the moves?
I would evaluate it based off of what the team needs. So, like, the 49ers got an F.
But the 49ers, I don't know what they're doing.
No, but I think they're trying to do what they maybe should have done last year and get rid of some pieces.
Not a year too late.
Yeah.
Right.
And with all the injuries that they dealt with last year, so the 49ers get an F. I would say based off of what they're trying to do, they probably deserve not an F, but their team's not going to be as competitive this year. Now, I don't think Brock Purdy should get paid, and he's going to get paid.
What would you say they do if they don't pay Brock Purdy?
It's your boy Shanahan. Oh, I can make this work.
I do believe that.
With this guy. I can make it work with that guy. And you know what?
That's a smart move.
He's proven that he can. Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy.
A good source on the Shanahan angle told me that he believes they made a they were interested at the right price in Daniel Jones.
And he probably thinks I could make this work.
He could because of the footwork.
Yeah.
Because of the footwork,
that's why they drafted Trey Lance.
That he would have been willing to take the flyer on Daniel Jones, but it got too expensive with the Colts, right?
Yeah.
It's Colts.
And so, I don't know. B- for the Eagles. I thought that was a little low, but you guys are both in the C range. That's interesting.
Yeah,
Bit.
They didn't make any big splash moves. I mean, they added a couple guys, but the guys that they've brought in so far do not make up for the guys that they lost. The Eagles are a team that's going to take a step back this next year from where they were last year. That's going to still be good enough to hopefully win the conference and possibly the Super Bowl again because they were so good. But if you look at the Eagles right now and say they didn't take a step back, I mean, I don't know what you're looking at. So that's B- to me, C+.
And also, the one thing I would say, too, though, is that this is going to be I actually, if you told me right now that I could have Ojulari for Sweat,
I'm in.
I think I'll take Ojulari.
I'm in.
I would now I feel, now that Ojulari's here, I completely am okay with Sweat leaving. And I wish Sweat all the best. But I believe you're going to get a more consistent performance from Ojulari.
Well, I just need another body that is effective, like an effective body.
A guy who hits quarterbacks and a guy who doesn't disappear for long stretches for his career, though he did not last year.
Like Josh Sweat was more than just a body. I understand that, but he wasn't some game wrecker. He was in the Super Bowl. I'll give him all the credit in the world. He was a game wrecker in the Super Bowl, but kind of his career, he hasn't been a game wrecker. I need somebody that can play, and Ojulari, that's a good pickup by them. By the way, when I was down in Clearwater, I listened to Tampa radio for like 30 minutes.
Sports animal?
Sure.
Okay.
They're very bullish on the Bucs this year, which I think they should be.
I think they should be also.
I think the Bucs are going to
won the division.
Yeah, and I
think
in
a row.
I think this year's easy for them in that division. But they were doing the Jimmy Shapiro Bet Online AG, right?
Oh, okay,
like the same stuff that we get, and he just kind of passed on the Eagles. Like he was doing like a breakdown on whoever the host was doing like a breakdown of every single team, and he was like, "Yeah, and the Eagles are still up on top." Almost like, yeah, they're going to be really good this year.
But they also have owned. They've absolutely owned the Eagles.
Maybe it's confusing to them. Like, how does this team just
like how does it happen? How are they so? And by the way, we're going back to Tampa this year.
Yes, we are. So, it's weird, man.
Hey, Philly Sports Trips.
Every year.
Hit us up.
Give us a call, Vince.
Hit us up, Vincey.
I know a couple spots down there.
We got to wait and see how the schedule breaks on that one. That'd be awesome.
Well, yeah, time of year and everything. You got it. Yeah. All right, coming up next, reset the show. We'll check our text line on today's Phillies discussion. Today's headlines with Connor Thomas comes your way around 8:15. Still a lot in store for you on Kincade Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
It's almost baseball season. I'm Connor Thomas, and we've reached the week of opening day for your Philadelphia Phillies. They're going to open up the season on the road in Washington on this Thursday against the Nationals, and the NL East looks stacked heading into the season. But Jason Stark, Hall of Fame baseball writer of The Athletic, believes in the Phillies matched up against some of the top division opponents in the East.
3 teams in the NL East: Phillies, Mets, Braves. Any of them could win. They all should make the playoffs. I think the Phillies, in a world where everybody is healthy, have the best roster and the best team.
Now, that everyone's healthy thing is not something that you could assume with a long baseball season. They've already had a couple injuries to the pitching staff, so they made a move ahead of the start of the season, signing reliever Carlos Hernandez. The righty had a 3.3 ERA in Kansas City last year. He should be on the opening day roster in the pen. We're also 1 month away from the NFL draft as of today, so we'll keep you updated on what the Eagles are working on heading into that. Flyers fell to the Blackhawks 7-4 yesterday. Sixers lost to the Hawks 132-119. They're going to face the Pelicans tonight at 8 p.m. You can hear that game live here on The Fanatic. This update's brought to you by Rapid Radios. Their instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Hey, I hope you guys have a safe driving to work today. I haven't dropped one of those
Last
in a
week,
while.
crashes everywhere.
Oh,
but
it's
Connor
'cause I was
did a
gone.
good job of remembering that.
Well, that's good. Thank you for doing that, Connor.
It was mainly John, actually, but we had it covered.
We tried to have you covered. Traffic, it's just not as good when
you
you're
got to do what you got to do, man.
There you go.
I'm trying to help the people out. All right, so the Phillies. If you're just tuning in, here's what we're talking about today. I was in Clearwater last week, which is why I was on vacation, off the air for a week, except for my daily call-ins, which was a lot of fun with you guys. I left Clearwater with a different vibe that I had last year. Now, I will make this full disclosure. Last year, I took my sense based off of the people that I talked to and who I hung out with. This year is strictly mine. So last year, when I spoke with players, personnel, coaches, people behind the scenes, there was hey, they're coming in with the business-like approach. They're still going to be that fun-loving team, but they're getting after it this year. They're tired of the collapses, and they're tired of hearing about the slow starts. And, man, did they back that up through the first, I don't know, how many games? 90, 100 games last year?
No, I think it was till right at the All-Star break.
Yeah.
I mean, they were killing it.
So about 80-some games.
It was like 80-some games into the season. They were killing it.
Yeah.
Remember, they swept the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Tuesday, Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Had a day off. Then have a 3-game set against the Oakland A's.
That went well, right?
No,
and they
it went
lost
horribly.
6-1. They lost 6-1 and 18-3, 2 of the games.
I remember the 18.
And everybody was like, and I was one of the major advocates. It doesn't mean anything. For God's sakes, relax.
Yeah, just get to the break.
Yeah, and guess what?
Regroup, and then they
Put their
didn't
feet up.
regroup.
And in a normal year, you wouldn't give a damn about that series. It would just be a
Right,
flip.
right, exactly. But now you get more information.
Right.
You start looking back into when things may have started. And so this year, leaving spring training, I get the sense that this is the last hurrah, that it's coming down to this year. And I believe this team will be very good. And, guys, I think this team will be good next year and the year after. It's just with this group, you look at the roster and look at the number next to it. Not their jersey number, but age. And there's a lot of aging players. Mid-30s, guys that are getting to their mid-30s. And the daycare, in quotes, is now reaching their 30s. And guys don't just all of a sudden get better.
Nope.
Like Alec Boehm's a good baseball player, right? Good baseball player. He's not going to all of a sudden become some elite third baseman hitting 30 home runs. That's not coming anytime soon.
There was an era of baseball when it did. But this is not that era,
Yeah.
even though they find new ways.
That's when they injected stuff. Yeah.
They find new ways around it.
You look at a guy like Brandon Marsh. To me, he is who he is. He's a Major League Baseball player. But he's got a ceiling. And I'm always in the business of trying to find something better. I'm a millennial, damn it. All right? I want it now, and I'm greedy. And I don't give, when it comes to sports, why wouldn't you want that? I'm tired of this patient approach with some of these guys. And so I look around the team, and I go, all right, they brought it back kind of for the third straight year. They really only added one key player 2 years ago, and that was Trey Turner. And let's see what they can do. And they're going to be a good baseball team. They're going to be in the playoffs. But this might be the last time with this core. And that core isn't just Bryce Harper. It starts with Bryce Harper, but it's everybody else. It's the Schwarbers. It's the Castellanos. Real Muto's 34 years old. They're talking about contract extensions. I don't know if that's the smartest thing to do. We're talking about giving him reps in the outfield. Stop.
They're like, make him an outfielder. This is a way to extend. They're like, this is a way to extend him. Look, the plan to extend him, honestly, is beyond the time you should have started the plan to extend him.
Right.
But they couldn't because of the other contracts they had. But honestly, the guys, even on the broadcast, they're petitioning for it. Like, it's like, well, now you got to get that extension done with JT. I'm like, do you?
Yeah, maybe not.
Do you? You want to be paid? I don't get it. And if you don't see that it's been step down, step down, step down.
Even though I do believe he had a resurgence offensively this year.
You're counting on that. I like
count on it.
I like that.
260, 265. I'm not saying 300.
Go on.
I got an interesting exercise here for Mr. Salciunas.
All right, hold on a second. You're listening to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN, WPN, HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia, BZ Media Group Station, broadcasting live from the Xfinity Studios, the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. Used to be Xfinity. Now it's the
used to be,
Comcast
yes.
Business Studios. All right, Mr. Exercise, what do we got?
So one of your biggest pet peeves with the Sixers over the Joel Embiid era is the lack of continuity. It kills you every year. You hate going into a season where you're like, I don't know what this team is going to look like come playoffs because they get guys at the deadline or free agents and stuff like that. The Phillies have done the complete opposite. They are as continuity-driven as any team in baseball right now.
Different sport.
Okay, so that's my question to you.
Movement on a court is a lot different than who's batting in front of you, who's batting behind you. You can, structure lineups based off of your personnel, whereas basketball, you can't do that as much.
I got you. So that's the big argument against, well, not against it, but just like the big difference is just different sport where you don't care about continuity as much.
Yeah,
as
we just talked about the Chicago Bears, how they may have, quote unquote, won the offseason. One of the teams that won the offseason because they revamped their offensive line.
By the way, I really do like what they've done.
They might have issues the first 6 weeks of the season because it's a brand new offensive line. They have to communicate. They have to, silent counts, all that kind of stuff. Offensive line is different than a baseball field. Basketball is different than a baseball field. Continuity is great, especially when you're clubhouse. And that's one thing that we always hear is that this is a clubhouse that is united and loves each other. And you do need that over 162 games. I do believe that is an important piece. But you also need talent and balance lineup-wise. This is not a balanced lineup. And that's been one of their issues the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Continuity or not.
You can and all the vibes and anything else you want to say. If it doesn't get you to your goal, there are plenty of teams that don't have the quote unquote vibes that are getting it done. So
right.
you gotta balance out what's important. I'd rather have the vibes than not have them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a reason they haven't gotten there, but it's not a reason that they are getting there.
Right. Now, they're being serious, and Rafael Marchand will be your backup catcher. Obviously, a lot of it had to do with options on the contract, but the better player will be backing up JT Realmuto this year. Right?
Yep.
Stubbsy's not on the Major League roster.
DJ AAA is now spinning them in AAA.
Yeah, that's good.
In AAA.
He can leave the aux cord.
He's done very well for himself.
Yes,
He's done very well.
has.
He's made a nice living, and that's awesome.
But the better player is the new backup catcher. So some changes have been made. But the core is the core. And so is this the last hurrah with this team? 610-632-0975. What are the people saying on the text line this morning?
Gina in Southwest Florida checks in, says, I believe the clock has been ticking. As discussed since their loss in the World Series, each year has been a step backwards. They haven't upgraded or gotten younger at any position. It's hard to imagine a World Series title with this current team.
I can't say it's hard to imagine. That's a bit.
That's a bridge too far.
Right.
Like that's I understand the frustration. I don't get that at all. If you tell me right now that this team is playing in the World Series this year, I'm not saying 100% book it, put my money down. But I am in no way am I saying that can't happen.
No, it absolutely can't happen.
Not at
I
all.
get the Dodgers are the big bad Dodgers and everybody's scared of them, deservedly so.
But they've come up short more than they've come up big.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the Phillies have a pretty substantial claim to be the second best team in baseball where we sit right now on March, whatever today's date is. I don't know. I haven't looked at the calendar.
Today is
24th?
March 24th.
Oh, look at that. So, that's the thing. That's an emotional response that comes from the hurt of postseason losses.
Yeah.
And I get why you get there emotionally, but if you actually evaluate this baseball team, they're really damn good. So we can't do that. They can't win the World Series thing.
There's no reason. There's no reason to think that. I mean, honestly, I don't.
No.
I went on my trusty FanDuel app here.
Okay.
Where do you believe the Phillies are? I'm not going to ask you for the specific odds, but ranking-wise, where do you believe the Phillies are for World Series winner?
4th.
That's what I would say as well.
Ding, ding, ding.
Were we right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just make sure because I did not do this the other day. So Dodgers, obviously.
Yeah, and by far, to give you the odds, the Dodgers are at plus 240.
That's insane, dude.
Oh, my gosh.
To win a World Series, man. Braves are 2 at plus 850.
Yankees.
Yankees are 3rd at plus 900, then your Phillies at plus 1,000.
Mets right behind them?
The Mets are 5th. So,
okay. See, I was actually going to guess Mets.
Of the top 5, 4
betting.
are
Too many NL teams.
4 are National League teams in the top 5.
That's amazing.
And then it's the Orioles
That's
are
amazing.
6th, but it's majority a National League heavy betting field here when it comes to win the World Series. So Vegas is telling you, yeah, this team could still win the World Series. So when we hear Gina's text there, it might be based off of emotion, but I understand why somebody would be emotional right now. So give us something else that the people are saying this morning.
All right, we have another check-in here on the Harper thing for Vashon in Coatesville. And he says, look up Harper stats in the playoffs. He's the only one who's consistently showed up. I'm nowhere near at a point where it's put up or shut up with Bryce Harper.
Okay. And
what about not pointing the blame to the coaches?
That's what I was trying. Like when I say put up or shut up, I'm not talking about Bryce Harper, the individual.
We know
he's
that
just he's the face of the team, and he has to do a lot of the talking. And his words are the heaviest. Jalen Hurts' words are the heaviest for the Eagles. Bryce Harper's words are the heaviest for the Phillies. Joel Embiid's words are the heaviest for the Sixers. I guess it's going to be Michkov for the Flyers, but
he's learning the language.
Right, he is.
It's going to be a few years.
I mean, if anything,
he's learning the language.
anything, right now, Torts are probably the heaviest for the Flyers, but the other three teams are players. And
he just triggered people.
And at some point, when people got tired of hearing Joel Embiid say certain things, even though he was not wrong in what he was saying, they said, "All right, well, you got to win something. You're the face." Hurts now won the Super Bowl. John said he could say nothing at all.
Right now, if we have shows this year where people are upset at Jalen Hurts, he doesn't say anything.
You'd be okay with it?
Like, no, he's already proven enough.
Right.
We just got to go. It works for him, okay?
When Bryce Harper is also the GM and he's talking about,
and he is
building
like
rosters.
If he does it, I'm telling you this: if I start hearing this signed JT stuff, I'm just gonna scream. It's like, just go win something. Go win as a team. Go win something. Stop worrying about being the GM.
Go play the outfield and have Vlad Guerrero Jr. as your first baseman.
He's willing to do those things.
Right-handed power bat, something you did not address this offseason.
Willing.
Instead, he brought in Kepler.
So nice of him being willing.
All right, coming up next, we got today's headlines with Connor Thomas. It is Kincade Salciunas. Feels good to be back, man. Here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Mike Missanelli, Bill Colarulo, and Ray Dunn.
Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Good to be back from vacation. Talking a lot of Phillies
Good
today.
to have you back, dude.
Thanks.
Always good. Connor did a great job, too.
Damn right he did. I enjoyed calling in and talking to you guys every single day. How about that Jason Worth story I told you about? He got sick after the Game 5 being halted.
See, and thank God he was. But if I remember, when they recovered, he didn't do anything in the final 3 innings of that game, did he?
No, but he got, one at bat?
Yeah, but I don't think he had. Like, it was who had the hit?
Jeff Jenkins. Come on, man.
Jenkins had the big one.
Yeah, that was my guy.
You love Jenkins.
I was a big Jeff Jenkins fan.
Wait, wasn't he a platoon guy?
Yes, he was.
Aren't you anti-platoon?
Yes. He was brought to be the starter, and then this guy named Jason Worth showed up. And I remember being pretty upset by it as a child.
And?
But it worked out pretty
You
well.
were a child.
And what did they end up doing? They started Jason Worth every single day. Why? Because that's the better course of action. If you have a better player, just let them play. Rest my case. All right, before we get back to our text messages, it's time now for today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
Today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
Brought to us by who?
Our friends over at Lundy Law. For over 70 years, Lundy Law has been fighting for injured people. If you need them, remember the name Lundy Law, your injury lawyers. Visit LundyLaw.com. That's LundyLaw.com. So we've had a quiet NCAA tournament, as we talked about, but there was a pretty darn exciting game yesterday with the first buzzer beater of March Madness with Maryland knocking down a shot, Derek Queen getting the ball. And there are some interesting levels to everything that went into this. First of all, their head coach, Kevin Willard, asked them in the timeout before the play who wants the ball, and Derek Queen, the freshman, immediately goes, "Give me that MFer." So confident out of the kid, makes it. Even though John thinks he traveled.
He did travel. He did, and it's the legitimate. And by the way, the ruling from the officials. I had the exact ruling from the officials. This Maryland game winner is a travel by the rule book. He gathers the ball with his right foot down, which is his pivot foot. He lifts it and puts it back down. That is a travel.
Yeah, if he's Bob Cousy.
Before you even start counting all the steps. He said no, that is the official ruling of the officials. That yes, by the rule book, that's a travel. Okay, well then we don't need to say by the rule book. We just say it's a travel.
Yeah, the 83 Wolfpack would have gotten called on that
It's a
in
travel.
2025.
They just let you run around.
Slightly different. But after the game, they were talking about it, and Derek Queen was talking about his head coach, Kevin Willard. He had an interesting explanation as to why they love to listen to him.
First, he do pay us the money. And then so we got to listen to him, and we all trust him because he's like a player coach.
They do pay him the money. That's an interesting thing you haven't heard from college athletes recently.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's all about the NIL now, and good for Maryland. Great win last night. We are in favor of it. Players getting paid.
I love the players getting paid.
But it's going to cause issues in sport. We went through right before I left. I told you guys about UNLV. They promised their quarterback X amount of money. They didn't have it, so the quarterback transferred. We're only hearing about the transferring for the money. What about the colleges that are promising the money, don't have the money,
and then don't?
They can't pay out their head coach.
I'm gonna tell you right here with that is that a gentleman I get into a Twitter exchange with. He goes, "Yeah, not one." My buddy Matt in Vegas. He goes, "Not one small conference team in the Sweet 16, just as the big boys like it." And I said, "Just as NIL has created."
Yeah.
And then a gentleman goes, "Well, they're going to end up having to have a tournament just of the big conference teams because this is ridiculous." And I'm like, "So be it. So be it." Is like,
well, they already have
college.
That.
In college
football,
football,
the NIT.
In college football, we don't have the. Let's get the little schools in there too to play for the net. No, it's not. It is not. You don't have to have that. It is. It's going to have to come about.
Yeah.
The best players, best teams compete for.
And they wanted to expand the tournament to how many teams?
Still might.
Jim Boeheim wants 128.
That's
you know
crazy.
He does. That's what he's campaigns for.
It's just
no, they're trying for 96.
It's just an extended
It's ridiculous. You play a whole season. You play 30 games.
You're delaying
and you're
the
going to say,
inevitable.
oh, well, we're going to have 96 teams make it?
Yeah, but if that's not proof the college game is changing where you have a player saying, I listen to my coach because he's the one that pays me, it's a different sport these days.
Absolutely.
Now, Johnny, you had a problem with that not being called to travel. I have a bigger officiating miss from the NHL over the weekend.
Ooh.
The Kings were taking on the Boston Bruins. And, my goodness, NHL officiating, you have to figure this out because you stole a golden moment from fans across the world when this happened.
Here they go. Darcy can get another penalty here for crossing the red line.
Yeah, Swayman came all the way out to the red line, and the linesman was telling him, hey, don't go any farther.
They stopped the goalie fight.
Yeah, you can't stop the goalie
You
fight.
cannot stop the goalie fight.
You gotta let him have it, man.
That's unbelievable.
No,
like,
it's
what have they done to our sport?
And it's the truth is that I know Mike Missanelli is like, it's barbaric. It's awful. It's everything. Did you hear the crowd? Yeah. Hear the crowd?
Yeah.
So maybe it's not for Mike, and Mike is entitled to his opinion. It's not for him, but hockey fans love it, and the average sports fan loves it. Sports Center loves it. It's my gosh.
They got the gloves and gear off, and then they told them no.
And they're throwing stuff.
Let the boys hit each other.
Yes.
Come on.
Our own Jason Martinez fighting cancer right now, and Jason's coming through it. Got a few more treatments to go. Good job, Mert. I can tell you this, back in the day, Martinez was ready to fight every day. It's why he's going to survive cancer.
Yes.
He was ready to fight every any shift. He could have thrown that glove off.
By the way, I thought it was really cool. Shout out to Wawa. Did you see the big?
That was awesome.
The big spread they gave him, and Jason's a big Wawa guy. So
he is. He's
really
a big advocate. Great job.
Yeah.
That's awesome for him. We'll round out with our replay here.
Does this kind of feel like the last chance for this core?
I don't know how it can't. I mean, we haven't really talked about. We've been focusing on Real Muto because he plays a position that's tougher on the body, and you're trying to decide whether to give him an extension. You got to decide what you're doing with Kyle Schwarber. I wouldn't be surprised if he hits free agency. Another team goes out there and says, "Hey, we're going to throw a lot of money at a guy that's going to be a 40."
Yeah, because you know
dude.
why? Your DH is on this roster. Bryce Harper is going to be your DH one.
He has to be your DH. Harper's got to be your DH, right?
At some point further down
to
the
make
line.
the contract. Yeah, but to make the contract worth it.
That time may come sooner.
Well, remember, he was a Gold Glove nominee at first base last year.
I know.
Like,
and
who
he
do
probably,
you have
and
that
he
plays
probably,
first base?
He probably wants to play first base, or he probably wants to be in the field, but he's not very careful with his body on the field.
I got you.
That's part of the reason why we love him, right? Part of the reason why we love Bryce Harper is because of the energy and the will to do anything to try to win on the field. But if he's getting hurt constantly, which he is, the most important part about Bryce Harper's game is not his glove at first base. It's what he does in the line.
Right. That time will come where you need to cut down on Bryce Harper's availability in the field. And while we're not there yet, that's another reason, the age thing, why I think this is the last ride for this core. And I don't know how you can see it differently.
So let's talk a little bit more about that coming up next. Does this feel like the last shot for the Phillies? We'll look a little bit more toward the future next to that point, right? Kyle Schwarber is a free agent. And to run it back, like, he's probably going to try to get a 2-3 year deal.
I think he's going to want 3.
And he's still
going to want
playing
3
at a very high level.
He's going to want. I don't believe there's any chance they get him for less than 3.
So we'll look a little bit about the future of this team because players are getting older, and many others may have already hit their ceiling in terms of those daycare guys. We'll get into that coming up next. We'll check your text messages as well. It's Kincade Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Phil's add to the pen. I'm Connor Thomas, and they made a move ahead of opening day. By the way, opening day coming up Thursday, so get excited for baseball season. But the Phils went out and signed Carlos Hernandez, a right-handed reliever that had a 3.30 ERA in Kansas City last year. Hard thrower, adds to the bullpen with injuries to guys like Matt Strahm and Ranger Suarez, so he's expected to be on the opening day roster in the pen. We'll keep an eye on that move for the Phillies and how it plans out. But the NL East is something you're going to be keeping an eye on as well. Not just the opening series with Washington, which again starts Thursday. It's stacked with the Braves and the Mets as World Series contenders. Jason Stark, Hall of Fame baseball writer for The Athletic, talked about where the Phillies rank in that hierarchy.
3 teams in the NL East: Phillies, Mets, Braves. Any of them could win. They all should make the playoffs. I think the Phillies, in a world where everybody is healthy, have the best roster and the best team.
So a lot of confidence from Jason Stark and the Phillies. We'll see what the season holds. We're 1 month away from the NFL draft as of today's date, so we'll keep you updated on what the Eagles are working on leading up to it. Flyers fell to the Blackhawks 7-4 yesterday. Sixers lost to the Hawks 132-119. They're going to play the New Orleans Pelicans tonight at 8 p.m. You can hear that game live here on The Fanatic. This update's brought to you by Rapid Radios. Their instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Philadelphia Sports.
97.5 The Fanatic. John just reminded me of something that you did not have in headlines.
What'd I miss?
Mrs. Daniels.
Jaden Daniels' mother.
Did you see this?
No.
So he was at the women's college basketball
Women's
game, right?
college basketball game.
And he was sitting. There was the camera caught him talking to cute South Carolina. Was it?
And she's going to be a.
I thought it was USC.
USC.
Sorry, thank you. Yes,
They're both USC, but
cute girl,
West
and
Coast USC.
cute girl, and they were chatting it up, and they were both having a great time.
Yeah.
And then Jaden Daniels' mother puts herself between him and the cute girl when there's an empty seat that she could be sitting in. She makes her son move away from the girl and sits between them.
Have you heard about his mom?
No.
Ultra.
Oh, like
obsessive.
Tiger Mom?
No,
yes.
yeah, like sort of, but obsessive about everybody in his orbit.
Now, one of her reasons is I don't want somebody coming after him just for the money. Which, hey,
Mom, are you there for the money?
Well,
Can I ask? Are you there for the money?
She's his
whoa,
mom.
Whoa. Why are you, Connor? You're not protecting your kid's money. It's your kid's money. The kid earned the money. The kid's going to earn his money. He's a grown man in a professional career. He's like 24, 25.
Yeah, my mom still texts me about money stuff every once in a while.
You don't interfere with their love lives. You don't interfere with, I'm going to protect his money. Why are you protecting it, Mom? You're protecting it for you?
No, and listen, I think you'd much rather have someone in your circle or people in your circle who are more protective than let guys try and figure it out.
Of you talking to a girl at a basketball game?
Well, yeah, dude, it happens.
And so
that's disgraceful.
There's the video of the two of them, having a great time.
And they were having a great time.
And then when she sits in between them, the other girl, she turned to her and said something. She just had this stone face,
dude, I'm talking to your son. He's a grown man. I think he's a year and a half younger than Jalen Hurts, if I'm not mistaken. He is what are you doing,
Should
Mom?
be a protective mom.
And more
okay.
importantly, though, no, she is, though, Connor, if you go read. She's very worried about someone trying to latch onto her son for money. Sounds like, Mom, you got a big obsession with your kid's money.
By the way, the girl was Juju Watkins.
And she is supposed to be very, you're going to be excited.
And somebody asked me, do you not know who Juju Watkins is?
No, we really don't. Not big followers.
I don't follow it.
Don't follow it either.
Okay,
I knew the name. I knew the name.
I don't follow men's college basketball anymore. Right? I'm not a big college basketball fan anymore, and I'm not watching both men's and or women's. So don't nobody get offended here.
Don't worry.
I don't know who Juju Watkins is.
How about this? When your kids are grown up, don't be if you see them talking to a girl or you see them talking to a guy, you don't need to insert yourself. They're grown men and women.
Damn right.
You can stay your thing. And if you're worried about your kids' money that much, that tells me you're worried about it for you, not for them.
Grown men are on the Phillies. How about that for a chance?
I love that.
We're asking the audience today. It's 610-632-0975. Have the text line ready, Connor. About whether or not this is sort of the last dance with this core. That's the feeling I got leaving Clearwater this past week. That this is the last dance for this core, right? Schwarber's a free agent. So let's go through some of this. Kyle Schwarber's a free agent after this season.
Yeah.
Would love to see him back in the 4-hole.
So is in the 4-hole.
In the 4-hole.
So is Real Muto, so is Kepler, and so is Romano. You got 4 free agents.
Yeah, Romano's the one-year flyer because he had the
you're
big injury.
hoping pays off.
And he's looked good this spring.
He has. He really has.
Really good this spring.
And then next year, 2026, you have Castellanos, Bowman, Luzardo.
And Castellanos
Luzardo could be a 2-year rental.
Let's not sugarcoat it. They've been trying to trade him for the last 2 seasons.
Seems as if he has.
Alec Boehm, they tried moving on from this offseason. Now they're doing the whole, he's...
No, we didn't. We didn't really want to move on.
No, you tried to move him. Every single respected reporter in the world said that Alec Boehm was on the trading block. And that's the younger players. Trey Turner is 31. Is Trey Turner going to become...
better?
Nationals Turner again? Probably not. Now, that doesn't mean he stinks. Last year, we went through it. He actually had a good year last year. It was just another downfall.
How about this? Best year as a Philly. This year, I'll put it in Sharpie.
That'd be nice.
Best year as a Philly. We will have less complaints about Trey Turner this year than we've ever had. That is a gut instinct of mine.
I would really like that.
Bar's not crazy high.
No, it isn't. No, but the thing is, though, Connor, we're saying that, And honestly, we are, guys like me who are critical of Turner at times are hypercritical because his numbers, as you pointed out to me, they're not terrible. He's just a butcher in the field. He's the worst since he's been a Philly, he's the worst fielding shortstop in the game.
And I know there's some excitement with Kepler because he's had a nice spring, but he's on a 1-year deal. And what are you going to do? Are you going to lock him up after this season?
No.
He's already aging, too.
Right, exactly. He's 32. Your team is old.
They're really old.
Your team quickly got old. And that's why I asked that question today. Is this the last hurrah? Because there are a lot of guys that will leave for free agency. You might want to move on from after this year. You do have young guys waiting in the wings. So the last hurrah does not mean next year they're going to stink.
No.
It's going to be a new team.
You can't, though, the one thing is, if gut instinct today, we'll revisit this when it comes about.
Absolutely.
Gut instinct today from the three of us. All of us, would all of us be okay with a 3-year extension for Schwarber?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I just hate that he's the leadoff hitter.
I know I do too. But I would be okay.
So much.
I would be okay with Kyle Schwarber.
Me too.
So today, Castellanos walking at but probably not at the trade deadline because that would mean bad things about this season.
Not the deadline.
But after this year, I'd have no problem with it.
I'd be okay with him
because I think it would open up.
Yeah,
you could pay somebody. You could give out another $100 million contract,
and the moves on the board, position-wise, would work.
Yeah, I like him more than most. I like
Castellanos.
I would be okay to move on.
You'd be okay with that. So it's like Real Muto. I would not give an extension. Period.
I'd give him a 1 year.
He's not taking one.
I know he's not.
Right. But I wouldn't give him 2 years. Nope.
No, he's 34, man.
Not doing it.
And when's his birthday? Is he a mid-season birthday guy?
That's a
I'm
big
not sure.
thing.
And JT,
you age immediately the second that number changes.
JT's been fantastic too for a lot of his career.
Oh, he just turned 34.
He's young.
Back on March 18th.
Give him 3 years.
No, thank you.
He's young.
No,
yeah.
okay. So 2-year extension right now, Connor. Would you do it?
Yes.
I would not. You're the only dissenting vote. Are you voting? You say no
for
Real Muto?
2
years.
No.
Okay. No,
Here's why I would, because I don't think Rafael Marchand's ready to be the starting catcher. I don't think there's a lot of catchers, even where JT's at in his career, that are close to him. Like, he's in this upper echelon of catchers, and you take a major step back at that position if you don't have him.
If Marchand, let's say Marchand hits 260 this year and is more than competent behind the plate, does your opinion change? Like, we're talking like August, and you see that Marchand's playing, and from the talk of it, it seems like he's going to get 40 to 45 starts.
As long as Realmuto's healthy.
That's the number that I'm looking for, right?
But are you? Would your opinion? Are you open to changing your mind on it?
I mean, he'd have to do something more than that.
Okay.
He hasn't been really available in his career. Injuries have been an issue for him.
Sure.
You don't have a clear backup because Stubbs is going to be going after this year anyway. He's in the final year of his deal. So, and your guy in the minors is Eduardo Tate, who I think is 19 still.
I think he's turning 20 this baseball season.
So, if you give JT 2 years after this year, maybe he comes to a point where you can bring him up as a young guy to be depth, but I don't think you have enough depth at that position.
It can't break the bank.
No, that's the thing. And I don't think you get him because I think someone will pay him more, but I would give him that deal.
All right, what do we got on the text line? What are the people saying this morning?
All right, we have a check-in here from Jacob in Clearwater, and he says, I'm confident after this year because I see a world where Crawford, Miller, and Painter can be on this team in place of Casti, Suarez, and Bohm. There's a fresh facelift with youth and a mix of power. This definitely feels like the last hurrah with this team, but not for the organization as a whole.
Right, not for the organization.
No, not for the organization.
That clear. I don't think they're going to plummet. Now, look, you're still relying a lot on unproven talent, even though they're thought of very highly. If the Crawfords, Painters, and Millers, they're thought of very highly, but they haven't proved it yet.
And if you tell me all three of those guys are coming in in 2026, the Phillies aren't division favorites.
Hell, you could get 2/3 of them this year.
You could see them.
Painter, Crawford this year.
You're going to see them. They're not going to be counted on to be big deals. But next spring, I think all three are going to be.
You know what? Why can't they be counted on? I see the Braves bring up another 19-year-old.
They bring up the Braves
every year.
The Braves
they count on them.
The Braves have a policy. They don't care what your age is.
Right.
If your
So why shouldn't I count on them? You know, if the guy can hit, the guy can hit. I don't care. All right. Coming up next, Johnny has you got a prediction about the Eagles' win total.
Yep.
Could it be lower than expected?
What Vegas is going to say.
All right, we'll get into that coming up next. We'll check our Phillies text before that. I promise we'll get to it because I want to know what more people are saying about this topic, about whether or not this is the last hurrah. That's the sense I got leaving Clearwater this week. It's Kincade and Salciunas on this Monday morning, championship Monday morning here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Tyrone Johnson, Ricky Vitalico, and Silvana Kelleher. The Big
by Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. Visit nopaybryant.com. Johnny Vegas over here is going to give us some insight coming up in a little bit.
Dude, 2025 is the year that I will break the string of, other than Cancer Year was the first one. Cancer Year was the first one in, I think it was almost 30 years that I hadn't gone to Vegas. And we're not going to Vegas this year either.
Not even like a surprise pop-up trip, you don't think?
Because I don't want to do too short for that kind of travel.
I got you. That makes sense. So, see, as a man who's never been out there.
I might do it, though, if I can get into the taping of the Nighttime Price is Right. I may do a long one.
Damn right.
I can do that. I may consider that one. Because Nighttime Price is Right. I can
that
win the big.
That would be the greatest day of your life.
Win the big prize.
All right, give us a text, Connor, and then we'll get to Johnny Vegas over here. The question: do you get the sense, because that's what I got in Clearwater, that this is the last hurrah with this Phillies core, the team that you fell in love with dancing on their own a couple of years ago. I feel like this is it. And you just look around, look at the age. It's getting up there. And if the Dodgers win again, it's almost kind of Golden State Warriors-esque where it's like, all right, we got to try to do something new. You know, you had a team like the Rockets that tried something new, and they got pretty far, but the Golden State Warriors won. And then a lot of teams started tanking because they were like, we're not going to win. By the time they fall apart, maybe we'll be good. The Phillies wouldn't tank, but the Phillies would have to find another way to try to compete. And if this roster doesn't cut it, I believe it's done after this year.
So you do. And when you're talking about it, are you talking about drastic? Like if they don't go any further, they lose in the divisional round. Again. Are you saying drastic overhaul?
Castellanos, Bohm, Real Muto, and then who knows about Schwarber. I would like to try to keep Schwarber.
Okay. I would like to keep Schwarber too.
Castellanos, Bohm. I mean, they tried trading Castellanos the last 3 years. They tried trading Bohm this year, and Real Muto's a free agent.
Yeah, remember, Ranger's going to be gone. Now, you're going to replace him with Andrew Painter.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's a replacement.
Yeah, you can make the case the rotation, as good as it is this year, is going to be better next year.
Could be, yeah.
But, it's definitely a weird spot for them.
All right, what do we got on the text line?
All right, so we have a check-in here, and no name on this one, but they say, the Phillies have a good core. Why are we so fast to put pressure on the Phillies when the same people will say about the Flyers, be patient, or the Sixers back in the process, be patient, when those teams haven't won in so long? Keep the same energy for all teams.
No.
You're patient during a rebuild.
You keep the same energy. You have the same... Honestly, you've been spending... You've been a top 5 payroll now for a few years. Stop it. It's a completely different situation. When the Phillies were from 2012 to 2022, when we sat for a decade waiting for them to do something, that's different. We didn't have the same pressure or energy on them. Come on.
And by the way,
it's okay. It's okay to say, we're supposed to be good, and they're expected to be good. I want them to be good.
And
it's okay.
Their timeline of being good has a short runway.
You cannot
They're not getting younger, Texter.
You cannot hold Danny Briere and Keith Jones and Torts with what he's somehow managed to win with. You can't hold them to the standard when they've just taken over. They're not responsible for the disgraceful run of the past.
Yeah. Now this season for the
Sixers,
Phillies,
another story.
I'm enjoying the ride. All year, I'm enjoying the ride.
Where we gotta be.
Connor and I and John, we're not the wake me up when people. We're enjoying the ride. So if there's anybody that's patient about this team, it will be us.
Yeah.
But to say that they got a couple of years left, you're naive to think that these guys who are Bryce Harper, again, let's not act like he's Mr. Health. He gets banged up. He's 32. He's got a violent swing.
Yes.
The torque on his swing, his back is already dealing with issues.
And he gets injured constantly.
All right, Johnny Vegas. What do you got on the Birds here?
Okay, here's one for you. As far as we're talking about that numbers came out last week, and Connor and I did it the other day, where the Eagles, despite all the worry that we all have about what has gone off of this roster, Vegas is still telling you the Eagles are the best team in football.
Love that.
Until proven differently. They're the best team. Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you right now, I believe when the over-under number comes out for the Eagles, people are going to freak out. My guess, it's 10.5.
And for a defending Super Bowl champion, that sounds pretty low, especially with the talent that they still have offensively.
I think the number is going to be 10.5 from Vegas. And I think, to me, that's going to be a little rough. Here's what I'm telling you. Buffalo, Kansas City, Chargers, Tampa, Minnesota, Green Bay, and, of course, the commodes in the division. 7 of your 9 road games are freaking brutal.
Yes.
You are going to be underdogs in some of those games. The games you might be favored, you will be favored by less than a field goal.
Yeah, they'll be close, yeah.
7 of your 9 road games are that nasty. I think the home schedule looks like, honestly, not cupcake, but looks like they would have a chance to potentially, if you're talking 8 games, 7-1 would be almost my expectation.
Sounds nice.
But I think the Vegas is going to say 10.5.
And I
think that'll freak people out going, disrespect to the Eagles. It's not disrespect. It's respect for this road schedule.
I would take the over, but I think it's going to come down to the end.
I think 12 wins is going to be a knife fight.
Oh, yeah.
Let's say they go 7-1 at home. That includes games. We know the divisional games. You got the Bears at home. I think they win that one. Denver at home, you can win that. Raiders at home, you can win that. They do have the Lions and the Rams at home. You should be able to win. Let's just say they go 7-1 in the home games.
Are we doing W's and L's?
No, I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah, we are.
No, but if you're talking about getting to 12, if you go 7-1 at home, you got to win 5 of those road games.
Right.
That's a nasty, nasty.
What do you think the
fact.
Commanders come in with? 9.5?
Probably about there. Maybe 8.5.
I think 8.5. I think the Commanders might come in at 8.5 because look, Vegas studies this stuff.
By the way, their schedule is difficult too.
It's almost like the Eagles.
It's almost identical.
It's almost
I think there was one or two flips.
And to me, I just think some things fell for you too. You know, you get the Buffalo on the road, the Vikings on the road.
Yeah, tough spots.
Green Bay on the road. Tampa's always trouble for them anyway. You know, it's like this is going to be a tough 12 wins next year would be a freaking gold star.
And guess what? I've been on record saying I think 12 is the number that's going to get you the 1 seed in the NFC.
Right,
I don't think
NFC
you're out of your mind.
Yeah, like
with that at all.
It may be 13. There's not going to be multiple 14-plus win teams. There were 3 last year in the NFC. Like 2 out of the North. That ain't happening again, folks.
I think the Bucs could make a good run for the conference.
Because their division's so bad.
Their division sucks. And they're going to be good this year. Yeah, they got Chris Godwin back, as long as they're healthy, right? I mean, think about the games they lost. It was when both Mike Evans and Chris Godwin were out. If they remain healthier, I mean, their division's not good.
I'd like that. I'd almost, if the Eagles don't win the top seed in the NFC, the Bucs would be my next pick.
Yeah, but then they'd be your next pick?
Yeah, I think so.
By the way,
so you're not believing in Penix?
No,
I sort of am.
Here's your Bucs opponents. Birds, as we know. Niners, step back season. Patriots, Jets, Cardinals, Falcons, Saints, Panthers. That's at home. And on the road, Rams, Seahawks, Dolphins, Bills, Lions is tough, Texans, and then the opponents, the division opponents. Dude, they could win 12, 13 games this year.
They could.
They could. I'm telling you, it's going to be fun.
Schedule's a big part of it. Oh, absolutely.
It's a big year, and remember, there are always going to be games where we say boo, but get ready. Gauntlet.
Oh no, that word
Gauntlet is
coming back.
No, Gauntlet is definitely coming back.
Oh no!
When 7 of your
I have scars from that word.
Well, when 7 of your road games are that, and you've got, there's going to be a gauntlet stretch of this schedule. It's Gauntlet's coming back.
All right, we reset our topics. Coming up next, we'll check our text lines. Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Setting up for the season. I'm Connor Thomas, and the Phillies are doing that right now. Opening day is this week. They'll open up on the road in Washington on Thursday against the Nationals, an NL East divisional matchup to start the year. And these look stacked heading into the season. No, not those Nationals, but Phillies, Mets, Braves, all championship contending teams. Jason Stark of The Athletic joined these airwaves last week and talked about the hierarchy in the division.
3 teams in the NL East: Phillies, Mets, Braves. Any of them could win. They all should make the playoffs. I think the Phillies, in a world where everybody is healthy, have the best roster and the best team.
So a lot of confidence, but health is already in question for the Phils with Ranger Suarez and Matt Strahm dealing with some injury issues. The Phils, to counter that, made a move in the bullpen ahead of the start of the season, signing reliever Carlos Hernandez, who had a 3.3 ERA in Kansas City last year. A right-handed flamethrower. We'll see if he's on the opening day roster. He's expected to be. We're also 1 month away from the NFL draft as of today. We'll keep you updated on what the Birds do ahead of that. Free agency still going. Flyers fell to the Blackhawks 7-4 yesterday. Sixers lost to the Hawks 132-119. They're going to play the Pelicans tonight. Tip-off is at 8 p.m. You can hear that game live here on The Fanatic. This update is brought to you by Hand & Stone. Pricing starting at just $79.95. There's no better time to unwind and relieve stress. Find the spot nearest you at handandstone.com and experience the ultimate in relaxation. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
is 8:55 here on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Talking about the Fightins today. We've mixed in our Eagles conversation as well.
We got opening day on Thursday.
Damn right we do. And I just came up from Clearwater. Are they doing the 2 games at Citizens Bank Park?
No, I don't believe so.
They're starting on the road this year.
I don't believe so.
Yeah, it wouldn't really make sense to.
Yeah, they are not. So today, 12:35 is the final spring training game. And then they make their way up north, and they get to D.C. on probably Wednesday, and then the first game's on Thursday against the Nationals.
Now, usually you will have the players will have somebody that they pay to drive their car down to Florida for them.
Yeah.
So it would always be a day down at spring training where you'd see these guys. They would hire someone who works for the team, like a college kid.
Yeah.
Drive down, and then they'd fly them back.
Yeah.
And then they'd pay them to drive their
the car back.
They give them a trip back. And I know a kid who got tipped $5,000.
Oh, hell yeah, man.
To drive a car and a bunch of stuff in the car.
Yeah.
Down a big SUV. Down to Florida. And then this Braves player paid him $5,000.
That's awesome.
And by the way, when they made the trip down, 3 nights hotel for them on both ends of the trip to stay when you drive down.
Yeah.
And stay when you're come early.
Hell yeah.
Before you drive it back. $5,000 plus all that covered.
Are they offering that to any 31-year-old radio host?
Yeah, I'm up for it.
You and Connor would do it in a second.
I'll do that right now.
Well, Connor's driven Charlie Manuel all around.
Hell yeah.
All around
Which was
creation.
terrifying.
By the way, and it was great seeing Charlie. You said,
it was
you
good.
said,
It was
you were
good to
telling
see
us this
Charlie.
morning.
Yeah, it was great to see Charlie. He told us. So we did the Q&A on Wednesday. He told us that Tuesday was the first day he went for a jog since having his stroke, which that's awesome. So good to hear that Charlie's back on the mend physically as well.
He's the best. Still sharp, too.
He's such a good. Charlie pushes me. I laughed because the fact is I'm now taking part in this program, trying to get myself strong again, trying to get back to my old self. And I look at Charlie Manuel and overcoming a stroke and doing everything he's doing, and I'm saying to myself, work harder, John.
Yeah.
Work a little harder.
Yeah.
Because Charlie's doing it, and he's setting an example for a lot of people out there.
Two great Charlie stories. When we did the Q&A, we also let the audience ask. And one of the guys asked the question of, who was the biggest pain to deal with, during that run. And he talked about Victorino and how Shane Victorino cried, every single day. But then somebody said, well, what about, when it came to pulling a guy out of the game? Because that's the manager's job.
Absolutely.
And he said Brett Myers was, the hardest to deal with. And
you're afraid of catching a right hook, too. Yeah.
He said it was his first year managing, so he had very little kind of ground with the team yet. He didn't build that sort of that reputation and that relationship with the players. And he went to pull Myers. Myers was getting shelled. The bases were loaded. And Brett apparently goes, "Well, you don't have confidence in me?" He goes, "No, not today. I don't.
Not today."
And apparently Brett didn't like it too much and stormed off the field. He's like, "I don't care. You're getting shelled right now."
Dude, lighten up, Francis.
Yeah, those conversations must be interesting when it's time to take a picture out of a game.
I can only imagine.
That doesn't want to come out.
Dude, at the D3 level, it's a mess. I can't imagine pros getting paid millions.
Did you give a bunch of lip? Were you a talker?
I had no issue in college. When I pitched after college, I had a couple that I wasn't happy about.
Okay.
But it's all about trusting your manager.
Damn right. You're listening to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN, WPN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, BZ Media Group Station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. And we're talking about the Phillies today because I got the sense leaving Clearwater that it's coming down to this. This is the last year with this core. Again, to make it clear, we believe this will be a good baseball team this year, and we don't think this isn't going to be the 2011 to 2012 fall off.
No.
Unless you keep guys around.
Unless you start loading up, I'm telling. But we all agreed today. Now, we can change our opinion, but we all agree today. We all would have no problem with Schwarber being offered 3 years.
No.
And locked down.
I just wish you'd be in a different spot of the order. Now, who's the leadoff hitter is always the question. And, clearly they don't. The Trey Turner thing, it was going to be his job. He's, again, not leading off.
And again, and we're at it again. Again, I dug up 17 quotes.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Because I'm a dork. But you can do a word search, so it makes it really easy. Of Dave Dombrowski and Rob Thompson on the record. saying that, we can't do things, and many of them come before Christmas.
Yes.
We can't do things the same way next year. We got to change our approach. We got to know that what we're doing isn't working. We got to change things up. And what are they doing? Just rolling it back. Going to do the same things over and over again.
Yeah, this one I don't get.
I don't understand it. You acknowledged that you needed to do this. You went on record with your fan base and sold them on it. And when push comes to shove, I guarantee you this is what the manager wants to do. Guarantee it that this is what he wants to do.
And if you give me spring training numbers, it's not like Schwarber's tearing the cover off the ball.
No. Well, push has come to push. We're not at push comes to shove yet. Remember, we are still on March 24th, as you guys reminded me of the date earlier. So we haven't even seen a regular season lineup yet. So
you're telling me they go 5 straight days going into this, and then now they're going to change it up? And Trey, we didn't bat you leadoff for the last week and a half, but you're going to be leadoff guy.
I'm not saying that, but we've had the conversation about alternating before. And
which I hate, by the way. He didn't chime in on it. Set it up for Andrew.
So they could do, if they did a 50-50 split, and it was Trey Turner some days and Schwarber some other days, depending on the pitching matchup and what you feel. I just think about...
baseball players
are
creatures of habit.
But, hey, we're asking them to do stuff differently. They might have to do stuff differently. And if they do that, that's a substantial change from what they've done in the past.
So here's the lineup yesterday, by the way. Schwarber, Turner, Harper, Bohm, Kepler, Real Muto, Castellanos, Stott, Marsh. So Schwarber, leadoff spot. And, by the way, Stott, Marsh, then swing back to Schwarber. That's left. Which I do believe in that kind of stuff. And that's a dangerous spot to be, especially if Marsh struggles against lefties as much as he does, and who knows about Stott. Schwarber's not necessarily that problem, but it is 3 straight lefties. Look, I would flip Castellanos and Real Muto. I want Real Muto toward the bottom. I think they would be better for him if you were to do that. But that kind of looked like the lineup yesterday. They basically said, they announced that Marsh is going to be the everyday center fielder. Kepler was brought in to be the starting left fielder. In terms of lineup order, though, they have Schwarber at leadoff, even though
they told you all off season we're going to do it because. And even I have quotes. We have to, we really sort of got to be able to unleash Trey on the base paths. We're not taking advantage of that part of his skill set that he was brought here for. And then we're just going to do it again.
Well,
we're just going to do the same stuff again.
We'll see that one. Let's see how that one plays out.
What do you mean?
Does he steal base? They're not going to have him swipe back.
Well, last year I give the pass a bit on the hamstring stuff.
Yeah.
And he still stole 20 some last year?
But if you have a hamstring, he should, in today's baseball, he should be able to steal 30, 35.
Because of all the rules. You attempt 2 pickoffs. Remember the new pickoff rule? You attempt 2 pickoffs, you can't attempt another one.
But I give a pass on last year because once you get a guy early in the year that has a hamstring thing, I, as a manager, would be scared to death the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Of losing them for 3 weeks or whatever.
All right, what do we got on the text line, Connor, about this topic, about whether or not this is the last hurrah with the core for the Philadelphia Phillies? I believe that it is. That's the sense that I got coming up from spring training.
Jay from Westchester wants it to be. He says, I honestly need it to be the last hurrah. They sold us on running it back in 23, and it made sense. They made us believe in running it back in 24, and we were all scratching our heads. Now they're running it back for 25. Are we supposed to believe that anything is really going to change? I want them to switch stuff up.
There was no selling on 23.
Yeah.
There was no selling us on running it back in 23.
No, they signed Trey Turner to a $300 million deal.
Right.
That's not running it back.
And they were just off a World Series where they really battled their asses off.
And then last year was quiet, and this year's crickets. Your moves are... And look, they might not be bad moves. Romano, I'm interested in, but it's a 1-year prove-it deal following an injury. It's Kepler contract year, right, at the age of 32. He has not had a very good season since 2019. Those are 2 of your key guys. Luzardo, I like his stuff. Let's see him pitching in October, though. I'm curious to see how he's pitching on the main stage.
I can't wait to see him Saturday.
Yeah,
his debut.
Your additions aren't the super exciting additions. They were pieces that you desperately needed. If Kepler can become that everyday left fielder, you needed a replacement in the bullpen to Hoffman and Estevez leaving, and you got that in Romano as long as he can stay healthy. And Luzardo's, A, better than Taijuan Walker, duh. B, the injury sort of insurance policy to Ranger Suarez, and you're already seeing that play out before the season starts. They were good moves, but nothing that really moved the needle, and this team has been going in the wrong direction.
Now remember, last year, the big move in the offseason before the season started was Whit Merrifield.
Yes.
Who stunk, and even if he was good, was not starting here. He was a utility guy. And that was basically all they did. They didn't do anything with the rotation. They did very little with the bullpen. Like, I'm not saying this year they've been crazy splash moves, but they have been louder this offseason than they were last offseason.
Okay.
Just for context. I'm not trying to talk anyone into the Phillies are...
That's a fair point. That's a logical, fair point.
So we'll see. Like, they were a great team last year doing nothing. This year, well, new left fielder, new bullpen arms, new guy in the rotation to even it out. Maybe that gives them another bump.
The only thing with Kepler, it's like it's redundant. It's more of the same.
Yeah, I got you. That's why I don't love it, but...
Like, and he's another lefty back. Like, that's the other thing.
See,
like,
that's the part that I still can't figure out.
This lineup confuses me. Like, you're relying, once again, on Real Muto and Castellanos to be that right-handed pop, because you're not getting it with Bo. You're getting hits and RBIs, but you're not getting pop from him.
You're not.
So you're relying again on Castellanos and Real Muto. And oh, by the way, they're batting 6th and 7th in your order. They're not middle-of-the-order guys anymore.
No. You're bringing up, it's been a logical discussion this morning, but it's going to frustrate some.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll check the text line coming up next. Also, ESPN did an article on teams that could beat the Dodgers. The Phillies are in it. So we'll go through that with you next. It's Kincade and Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
The Philadelphia 76ers.
Sixers win. Play that song.
The Philadelphia Flyers.
Rebound in front. Backhand shot. They score.
you about the Dodgers is because the Phillies are still a really good baseball team.
Yeah, they're really good. They have a good chance to beat the Dodgers.
And so that's something that we can't forget. I know that the Dodgers are the big bad Dodgers, and we're all scared about them. But the Phillies are still going to be one of those teams that I have 92 wins. What were your predictions again
For this?
I don't think we've made them.
We haven't made them yet.
Nothing official?
No, nothing official. We got it's opening week.
I'm still crunching the numbers.
I think by Wednesday or Thursday we should be ready for that. Don't you jump the gun on this?
Well, you asked me the other day to do it.
I know.
All right.
It's the idea of just numbers wise as far as just general thoughts.
All right, so here's the article they wrote. The 6 teams that can take down the Dodgers in Major League Baseball this year. They have the Arizona Diamondbacks, who I believe could. Again, it's all about getting hot in the playoffs. They have a fun lineup, and Corbin Burns was a big pickup for them. They have the Atlanta Braves on this article. They also go across the conference or league to the Baltimore Orioles.
I do not see that at all.
I got to believe it before I see it.
I see that as a drop-off team.
I don't think so.
I don't see drop-off, but they got to win something first.
I see them as a drop.
Before we start saying, what, are they considering them the favorites in the American? Oh, they have the Red Sox on here, too. They're going to be better this year.
No, Red Sox are going to be much better.
But, all right, they have them.
I think much better.
Okay.
Then they've been. Come on. Big
no, much better. But
that's what I'm saying. Much better.
Beat the Dodgers?
Yeah, I'm not.
No, I don't know about that.
Yankees are the first team I think of. Now, obviously, Cole getting hurt's a big deal for them.
That's huge. That's a big difference.
They have the Padres on here. So 2 of the teams in the division.
Why do I not believe in the Padres?
I don't know. You should. The Padres knocked them off a couple years ago.
I know. I just don't. Something about it. Maybe it's that stupid dance with the middle-aged white guy.
That's what's in?
Yeah,
that was
maybe
horrible.
It's that.
Lastly, they have the Phillies. So here's what they wrote about them. The case for the Phillies. Call this old school thinking, but I'll still bet on starting pitching in October. And the Phillies might be the only team that can match the Dodgers' high-end potential in this department, except the Phillies have a much better track record of keeping their starters healthy, which is true. Phillies already had a stellar rotation with Zach Wheeler, and then they added Jesus Luzardo with rookie Andrew Painter on the way as well. Plus, Christopher Sanchez has added velocity this spring and looks like a sleeper Cy Young candidate. It's a rotation that can shut down the Dodgers' offense with Painter perhaps a dominant force out of the bullpen for the postseason. Phillies have played more playoff games than any other team the past 3 seasons, although oddly haven't matched up against the Dodgers. Can they score enough runs to beat the Dodgers is a question. Yes, while the offense is starting to get a little old, it can still be elite when everybody is clicking. Bryce Harper has been a great hitter throughout his postseason career, while Kyle Schwarber has slugged .539, and Max Kepler gives them another lefty bat to lengthen the lineup. I don't know if that's a good thing. Starting pitching, a potential wipeout arm in the bullpen, and a left-handed power is how you knock off the Dodgers and win a World Series. That was David Schoenfield.
Okay.
Jeff Passan agrees, by the way. He also writes that.
Excellent.
So, look, the Phillies, don't write them off. Right? The Dodgers could slip up. We've seen them slip up. They broke through last year and won the World Series and obviously got even better. They're a very dangerous baseball team. They'll probably win 115 games this year. But what matters is come playoff time.
Yeah, I don't care what they win the regular season.
No,
because they've seen them do it before.
Yeah, there are a lot of great teams that have gone out since the introduction of the third wild card team that just, it writes that off. But you know what the nightmare scenario is here? Is one of those teams on that list actually does knock off the Dodgers. If the Diamondbacks knock them off and the Phillies see their window open and they're like, wow, we don't have to face the Dodgers, and it's an NLCS Phillies Diamondbacks again, this fan base will be tight.
Well, the thing is, if the Diamondbacks do knock off the Dodgers, then God bless them. They've done it. I would almost feel like, though, in my heart of hearts, that would be like their World Series.
Yeah, maybe. I think whoever does knock off the Dodgers will have that feeling.
I think the Padres beating the Dodgers a few years ago when the Phillies met them in 2022 was the worst thing that could have happened. Because nothing is more important to a Padres fan than beating the Dodgers.
Right.
They win that series. They have home field advantage. They think they're going to be all excited, and then boom.
I will say I still think the Dodgers winning is nightmare scenario because then everybody's going to give up. Well, not the teams.
It's going to feel like March Madness to a lot of the smaller schools.
If the Dodgers roll, and I mean roll faux. I don't know how many people are going to be all that invested in 2026.
Nah, see, that's not a nightmare to me because that's what I'm expecting, right? That's the expected outcome. What's worse?
Not good for the sport of baseball, though.
No, it's not. But what's worse is when you get hope and you're like, wow, everything's wide open. That's why 2023 was so bad. Worse than losing to the Astros. It's not because the Astros continued their illustrious championship winning campaign of that era. It's because in 23, you faced a team that was very beatable, and another team came out of the AL that was very beatable, and you choked it. That's what would happen if someone else knocked off the Dodgers.
Yeah, if the Phillies losing in 2023, it's just will always pain me. What else we got on the text line this morning about our fightings, Connor?
All right, we have a bunch of people checking in now talking about the run it back and the excitement for the season. Eric from Virginia says, I think the Phillies window is closing. They have been running it back with minor to no changes in the roster, and that doesn't get me excited for the season.
Wow, I can't imagine. I'm going to be honest. I cannot imagine how spoiled you are as a sports fan that the Phillies, if someone, Will Smith comes with the red pen and you the light in your eyes and you're cleared. If you looked at this Phillies roster, this Phillies rotation, you would say to yourself, this is one of their best chances to win a World Series in a generation.
Yeah, you should be excited for this team.
But it's the negativity. If you're not excited for this team, then I don't think you're that big a Phillies fan.
There are a lot of people checking in that are not excited.
See, that's
all right,
terrible.
What else are they saying?
All right, so we have no name on this text, but they say the Phillies are tracking to not even make the postseason.
Oh, stop.
We have another text here.
Come on, man.
Yeah, I know.
They are not. They're in fact not doing that.
Yeah, I mean,
unless he's doing the whole in 7 to 11, they took one step back each year and missed the playoffs. Maybe that's what he means by tracking.
Yeah, but they're not.
If you believe that they're not going to make the playoffs this year, come on.
That texter also has said the problem with the Phillies is the Harper mentality in previous texts, so I don't know.
Okay.
But another texter says excitement for this team is meh. Lack of adjustments, too many strikeouts, timely hitting is not there, and lack of ability to play small ball in the playoffs will continue to bite them in the ass.
Well, and that's the problem. You've seen them lose the same way now in back-to-back years.
And they've obviously chosen to ignore it.
Right. And
they've ignored it. They've said, we're going to tell you that we're going to change it, but we're not.
And that's why there is the sense of the fan base of wake me up when. Right? Get to the playoffs, have fun this season. What matters is what your approach will become playoff time. And you've seen them lose the same way in back-to-back seasons, and it's the same team. Now, they could make a splash at the deadline. Who knows? And then maybe that brings the fire back to the city. But last year, they set franchise records through the first 2 months. If they do that again this year, are people going to be celebrating it? Or are they just going to be like, all right, let me see them do it in the playoffs?
I'll be excited for it.
You will be. I will be.
Yeah,
Connor will be. But I've seen it with the Sixers. It might continue with the Phillies. All right, coming up next, we'll check more of our text messages. But also, who can replace Brandon Graham? Not just in terms of stats, but everything else. Johnny found an article that already pinpoints a player. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
It's opening week in baseball. I'm Connor Thomas, and it's just about that time of the year, folks. We've reached the week of opening day for your Philadelphia Phillies. They're going to open up on the road in Washington on Thursday against the Nationals. The NL East is a stacked division this year with the Mets and the Braves, and of course your Phillies. But Jason Stark believes in one of these teams over the others.
3 teams in the NL East: Phillies, Mets, Braves. Any of them could win. They all should make the playoffs. I think the Phillies, in a world where everybody is healthy, have the best roster and the best team.
Now, we don't live in a world where everyone's always healthy, and the Phillies have already seen that. Ranger Suarez dealing with back stiffness, Matt Strahm a shoulder impingement, so they made a move ahead of the start of the season, signing relief pitcher Carlos Hernandez from Kansas City. Had a 3.3 ERA out there in KC last year, a right-handed flamethrower. He's expected to be in the bullpen for opening day. We're also 1 month away from the NFL draft as of today, so we'll keep you updated on what the Eagles are working on and who they're looking at leading up to it. Flyers fell to the Blackhawks 7-4 yesterday. Sixers lost to the Hawks 132-119. They're going to face the New Orleans Pelicans tonight. Tip off at 8 p.m. You can hear that game live here on The Fanatic. This update is brought to you by Bank of America. Whether you run a local shop or a global enterprise, Bank of America gives you access to business solutions to make every move matter. What would you like the power to do? Find out at bankofamerica.com/banking for business. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Bill Colarulo.
Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Missed you.
Missed you too. It is good to be back.
It's good to be
Just
back.
saw Ray and Bill and Mikey miss. So they're ready to go coming up at 10 o'clock.
They're ready and raring to go.
That's the good thing about going away for vacation. Then you come back, you see everybody for the first time in a while. So it's good to see the people.
They got a lot to say.
They do. About Philadelphia sports, man.
Be all over it.
All right, we'll get back to our text messages here coming up in a little bit. But you sent me an interesting article last night about the replacement to Brandon Graham.
And honestly, as far as the replacement to Brandon Graham, it's more of off the field than on it.
Yeah, this isn't just statistics.
Statistically, Nolan Smith is off to a better start in his career than Brandon Graham was.
Right.
So already he's a little ahead of the curve after just 2 years. But when I hear Nolan Smith talk, and it's an interview where he's talking with Cam Newton, and he's going on and on about his experience, and obviously Cam's an Atlanta guy, and so they have a lot of ties through the University of Georgia and otherwise. The more I hear Nolan Smith talk, I think the void of Brandon Graham, the chatter, the positive energy, the I got my teammates' backs, I think we're good. I think we're good that a guy like Nolan Smith is there to bring that energy, to bring that positivity. Nolan Smith is like the anti-Jalen Hurts.
Right.
Not that they're anti each other. The idea that his approach is he's a free speaker.
Right.
Speaks his mind, shares his thoughts, all out there. And very positive vibe about him. In the ways the Eagles will miss Brandon Graham, his sort of veteran savvy and everything, that's got to come with time. But I believe they've got his replacement in a guy in Nolan Smith.
I like that.
Like, I think that Nolan Smith is going to bring to the table so much good vibes and good energy.
Well, and you asked me
and performance.
You asked me last week when I called in. It was Thursday. I was on Route 75 going to North Fort Myers.
It only took you like 3 years.
Yeah. You asked me about whether or not I'm worried about leadership on this team, and I don't care that they're young. Like, I don't need like some aging veteran to come in here to be a leader when you have all the Bulldogs together, right? And so not only is Nolan Smith this free spirit, he's a free spirit with Jalen Carter. He's a free spirit with Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean and maybe another future Bulldog in the first round. Who knows?
Sure.
Aziz Ojulari, like, he's got a lot of former teammates or at least guys that came from the same program and know what it's all about. And that connection is real. I mean, they had that show together. I forget what the show was, where they just followed the Bulldogs this season.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like a YouTube special.
Yes.
What, like the unscripted behind the scenes of the Eagles?
The Eagles whole thing with the dogs.
With the dogs. And so I think that goes a long way, which then can get to your point about him replacing Brandon Graham with the C on his chest.
Like, look, Brandon Graham's going to have that muscle memory of things in his head that he's going to be like, dude, we go on a 2-game losing streak. I've been here before. I understand it. You got it. Everything like that. That's going to be something that's going to come with time.
Yeah.
But I have absolutely complete confidence in what we're going to see out of Nolan Smith as far as leadership and everything like that.
Yeah, I heard too much about the storm 2 years ago with Brandon Graham. Remember it? They're in the slide. This is just a storm. It's just a storm. I was like, man, this is a long storm.
Just a storm.
Damn hurricane.
This is 40 days and 40 nights. All right.
Didn't it rain? There it is.
I need Noah to get over here with his ark. All right, what do we have on the text line this morning?
Nothing about Noah, no great floods, but still a bunch of people checking in on the Philadelphia Phillies and their season. Now, we have a check-in here from Jared from Coopersburg.
Any positive check-ins?
Yeah, this one's positive.
All right,
okay, good.
Because we've had the flow of negative text recently.
Somewhat. I think this is more rational than positive, but it's not negative. He says lineups, new players, la sera, whatever they do. They just need to hit when it matters. Everything else is kind of a conversation outside of that conversation.
Yeah, because you know they're going to be in the playoffs. Like, I'm guaranteeing you, unless there's catastrophic injuries, this team's in the playoffs. And then it comes down to whether, if they're hot, I don't care what their approach is, they're going to mash, right? We can agree there. If the Phillies' bats are hot, doesn't matter what their approach is, small ball, long ball, they're going to hit. But if they go cold, the problem is they have not had the answer. And relying on just being hot is a little dangerous with this team the way it's built. Like if you ever gone back to the 2008 Phillies, I think like Chase or somebody batted 170. But the problem, or the good thing is for the Phillies, their lineup was balanced, and it wasn't just one way of hitting that got them runs. So that's a concern.
There are concerns. I like the fact, though, that at least we're having honest conversation going into the season. And I think that people are looking at this with a critical eye. In my mind, people are being they're just taking, I hear arguments from callers or texters or whatever, and they take it to one point, and I'm like, with you. I'm out.
Yeah, it's like the Phillies' approach needs to change. They need to be healthy with an aging roster. The manager needs to be maybe a little bit more critical of players sometimes or be a little bit tougher on the team. And then that leads to the caller's point of that's why the Phillies are going to win 40 games this year and stink.
Yeah,
and it's just like
the people that have been more down today have gone over the top.
Yes.
Like the guy saying they're not going to make the playoffs is ridiculous. We had Gina early on texting and basically saying, yeah, I mean, they're not going to win anything this year. It's like, you don't know that. Like, you don't know that the Dodgers' bats are going to stay hot all season long.
You want a positive one? We got a first-time texter that's fired up about this.
All right, what do we got?
And they say, I'm so tired of hearing from these fake-ass fans. The Phillies are a very talented baseball team that has a shot at winning it all. It's a new season and a new opportunity with a boatload of superstars on the team. Get on board. There's 162 games to be played.
And look, that is a good attitude to have. I would not call somebody that's worried that it's not going to work out a fake ass fan.
No.
To quote the texter, it has not worked. What they have done, what this team has done, has now not worked for 2 straight seasons.
And you don't have to be a fan doesn't mean your fandom isn't determined by how much you're willing to bootlick the team.
Well,
if you're having legitimate conversation about it and you're not going outrageous.
Yeah, remember, we've read texts saying they're not World Series contenders and they're
ridiculous.
not going to make the playoffs.
And that's whoa. Someone thinking they're not going to make the playoffs could make that point, I guess. I don't agree. But you could make that point and say, I think they'll fall just short.
That they're the 7th best team in the National League?
That they could fall short, yeah. Because other teams...
That's crazy right now.
Because remember, here's the one thing, though, is other teams have much easier paths to be able to... The NL East is going to be a bloodbath. It's
going to be a bloodbath. Yeah.
I mean, if you got 13 games with the Braves, 13 games with the Mets.
Yeah, but I could say the same thing about the NL West.
Well, the Dodgers,
if
the
you're
Padres.
facing the Dodgers, Padres, Diamondbacks.
So that could potentially. I keep hearing people say, "Well, 3 teams are getting in from the NL East in the playoffs." I'm like, really? You're so sure of that with their schedules?
Yeah, it's not a
lock. I don't think that's a lock.
No,
I think second place in another division can make it.
Well, not
or
second place in another division.
No,
second place in the West.
Okay, we don't
forget the NL Central exists.
Okay,
they're not good.
Okay,
whoever wins that division will be the only team in the playoffs from that division.
Okay,
I would think that's probably true.
I wouldn't be so clear to go. That's a guarantee.
By the way, the 08, you just got to be hot conversation. Pat Burrell, so he's your 5 or 6 hitter in that series, batted .071. Utley, your 3-hole hitter, batted .167. J-Roll at the top batted .227. Victorino just batted .250. That's 4 of your core order guys.
Different brand of baseball, though.
Well, that's the thing. They weren't boom or bust. So this idea of you just got to get hot, for this Phillies team, the 2025 Phillies team, absolutely. They got to be hot or they won't win because there's no different approach. The 2008 Phillies, they didn't rely on home runs to win everything.
They did not.
But they also weren't playing teams that relied on home runs because that wasn't as much as a thing in 2008.
By the way, I made a Mother's Day prediction before. By the Monday after Mother's Day, I told Connor last week,
what we got?
If the Phillies aren't in first place, they won't be in first place.
Interesting.
So we'll talk about that more later.
Okay. That means the Bravos are in first place.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Yeah, Mets.
Not necessarily.
Rotation stinks.
The Mets stink.
Rotation stinks.
They stink, yeah, huh? Now you sound like some of the texters.
They stink.
Yeah.
Mets are trash.
Yeah, they stunk. Last September, I heard that too, and then October, I was told that.
All right, coming up next, we have our key three best minutes from today's show. And, of course, we'll check our text line as well. It is Kincade Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic. We want to hear from you. So text us at 610-632-0975.
You text every day, so why not text us?
Your opinion matters. Shoot us a text at 610.
On this Monday morning, Championship Monday morning, presented to us by Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. Visit nopaybryant.com. No AC needed right now.
No, but you need the tune-up.
Yes.
You need to do the tune-up now before it's going to jump in on us because it's going to stick it.
Yeah.
You know, unless you have a freak that is weird about like the thermostat, like my wife, who keeps the thermostat at 60 in the winter. 60.
Yeah.
That's like, I would divorce that person.
That's psychopath.
I'm sorry. I love Christina.
It's
like, I'm not
psychopath.
telling you to do that, but for me, that's a complete stop that.
She keeps it at 60. Psychopath.
Yeah, that is kind of psycho.
That is just crazy.
So you said it's 70 degrees Saturday. We got 66 here.
It's going to be 70 in D.C.
That's nice.
And I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a great time.
It's hitting season, baby.
If any members of Congress need to confer with me, they can meet me Saturday morning. If the president would like to come down and have some advisement, I'll be there at his place on Saturday. And then if Topper wants any, I can always offer Topper some advice down at Citizens Bank.
I'm going to keep you away from all three of those parties.
Yeah.
Who would you be most concerned if I was talking with?
D, all of the
Probably
above.
top. Yeah, exactly.
You mentioned hitting season. Last year was the first year where I could finally stop saying, I keep on hearing about hitting season. Everybody else is hitting. Because that was like the biggest thing with the Phillies. And I get it. Charlie said it, and he's right. When it gets warmer out, the ball starts flying more.
Sure.
But you watch teams all across baseball in April and May tearing the cover off the ball, except for the Phillies. And then all of a sudden they finally start hitting in June. And I get it, it's great. I would rather it start early. The opposite happened last year. They hit early, and then hitting season happened, and that's when they started falling apart.
But here's one of those things where I'm getting on Kevin Long. And then in the offseason, I also have these quotes where Rob Thompson, Kevin Long, and Dave Dombrowski all say, we need the players to buy into our approach. We need them to buy in. And that tells me Dombrowski and Thompson have Kevin Long's back. That he's telling them the right things to do. That he's teaching them the right things to do. And they're not listening.
Yeah, it could just be the player.
They're not listening. Like Castellanos, I don't study. I just go up there and hit. I don't do film study. I don't do anything.
But
I
then
just go up there and hit.
this goes back to like they did something a certain way to get to where they're at today, which is the major league
Couldn't
level.
every athlete say that?
Paid.
Could every athlete out of the University of Georgia who won some of the multiple national championships say that to Vic Fangio? Look, I know how you want me to do it, but I've done it this way, and I've won national championships. This is how I became a pro. I don't need to learn to do it differently.
System in football a little bit different than baseball.
Yeah, like the change of approach, I think it's understated how difficult that is.
It's mental.
Like
it's
here's
really
the thing.
hard.
20 years ago, you had hitters that hit all fields. And then the pencil pusher said, no, we want you to pull and try to hit because that's where you're going to get the most power. Is trying to hit to that right center. If you're a lefty, I want you hitting to the right side. Right? First base, second base, right field. If you're a right-handed bat, I want you to pull to that left side as hard as you can. And they don't know how to hit to all fields anymore.
And baseball, literally the sport that wants to be devoid of strategy, says, oh, we had the shift? No, we're not allowed to have the shift anymore.
Because they wanted more balls in play.
Can't do the shift.
It became too easy.
Teams have actually adjusted and learned a new way to play the game well, and then, no, we can't have that. Can't have it.
Yeah, because it became too easy.
It's unbelievable.
All right, what do we have on the text line, Connor?
All right, let me go ahead and pull it up. We have still people checking in on the Philadelphia Phillies conversation, but we also have someone checking in on the Eagles offseason, which we haven't gone back to because we did the grades earlier.
Sure.
And this person says, imagine thinking your offseason is a success because of Azeez Ojulari. Always hurt. No one else wanted him. Ignore the losses and focus on one acquisition.
Not true on Azeez Ojulari. Complete falsehood. Not that nobody wanted him. There were at least 3 teams other involved in Azeez Ojulari talks, and that's according to the Giants press that covered him. So that's not true. Was he a hot off the presses top free agent? No. Was he a guy who hits the quarterback a lot, which I like, not only sacking a quarterback, but can hit the quarterback a lot? His projected numbers, superior to Josh Sweat's.
Right.
So
and
just do with it what you will.
And to the Texas point,
on a bad Giants team.
To the Texas point, like it depends on what you're grading a success. Like, no, they didn't get Myles Garrett or Max Crosby,
which they were never doing.
Right, they didn't get any of those guys. They had to shed. We found out they had to shed salary this offseason, and so they did that. So if the goal for Howie Roseman was to shed salary, then he completed that goal. It was a success. If the texter's goal was, I wanted the 2 or 3 best players that were available, then they failed his goal, this individual texter's goal. Nobody's saying that Azeez Ojulari is the line of succession when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles, that they have a great offseason or not. And am I still a little concerned about all the pieces they lost this offseason?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But to just say that was the only player they got and it's game over, look at the team that they already have. Like, the core is still there. They're going to be a good football team next year, and they did with what they had. They didn't have the money, and they don't have the draft capital.
No.
They have 4 fifth-round picks, which they'll probably use 1 or 2 to move at some point, whether it's for a veteran in the NFL or for somebody in the draft to move up for. But the tone of that text, it's like, no, that's not the point.
I don't understand the rampant negativity. Negativity, I can understand. The rampant, like, sky is falling negativity.
They weren't getting a starter on offense, by the way.
I'm sorry, I can't.
So you
can't do it.
You could only get one side of the ball, right? So, all right, let's do this real quick. We got about a minute before the key 3. You're replacing Josh Sweat, so you did that with your rotational pieces of Nolan Smith, Jalen Hunt, and now Ojulari, and you wonder if Bryce Huff's got something for you. You weren't replacing Jalen Carter. Jordan Davis, in terms of starter versus not starter, is your starting defensive tackle.
Yes.
You have your other edge. Nakobe Dean will be back. Zach Bond is back. They brought him back. You have your safety in Cooper DeJean, your slot corner in Cooper DeJean, your safety in Reed Blankenship. How dare you?
Cooper DeJean is not a safety.
You need to replace, still, Darius Slay, who they might have an option in-house, even though I don't agree with the idea, and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who you have the draft for. You're really only replacing 2 starters left on defense. So what were you going to do?
Yeah, dude, it seems to be simple. Some people just like to complain.
And sometimes you got to replace them via the draft. And they'll probably do that with safety. And I bet you they're not going to. I don't think they're going to just go with Keely Ringo at the outside corner. There's probably going to be a competition.
Or a veteran.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're going to bring in a veteran.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're not done yet. That's it. All right, time now for the key 3. 3 best minutes from today's show.
Now, the Kincade Salciunas Key 3. Today's best.
Could this be the last chance? Could this be the last dance? Could this be the last hurrah where this team really, you go into a season, you say, this team's going to be good. They're going to be in the playoffs. I know that for a fact. It's just about how far they make it in the playoffs.
Are you telling me, like, this isn't 2011 vibe? Because going into 2011, we were all feeling that team's going to win a World Series.
Right. No, I'm not there.
This is a vibe of clock's ticking, fans running out.
But I'm at the St. Patty's Day game, and that's when they kind of trotted out the opening day lineup because
we saw it again yesterday.
Packed house. So Kyle Schwarber in the leadoff spot.
Yeah,
And Wheels is the PA announcer down there. And he's making the announcements, and it's the names, right? And I'm like, yeah, they're running it back. And then you start looking at the ages of the players that they're running it back with. So your rotation, Zach Wheeler is 34. Dominant, he's 34. Noel's 31.
Okay, when we start this, can we do this based on, am I using the right premise to say to you, yay or nay, on next year? You're talking about this could be the last time, right?
Yeah, where
so that means
this core
you're worried about
together.
Next year. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, go on.
One of your go-to relievers in Matt Strom is 33 and is already dealing with some shoulder stuff. I know he's coming back. He's
going to be ready for opening day.
But that's something to kind of keep an eye on. Your starting catcher is 34. Your first baseman, who we all love, is 32 and is injured a lot.
Yep.
Like, we don't have to sugarcoat. Bryce Harper gets hurt. Trey Turner is 31. Castellanos is 33. Kyle Schwarber, DH, is 32. And he's on the final year of his deal. So who knows who Kyle Schwarber is after this season. And then I'll give you the date count. I put that in quotes because they're grown men now.
Are we not using that this year? I hope with on the Phillies broadcast and everything, I hope that.
Yeah, I think if you say it, you just know who you're talking.
Correct.
Right? Like, you know that it's Marsh, it's Stott, it's Alec Bohm. Bohm's 28, Marsh is 27, and Bryson Stott is 27.
You know what the daycare is? They're your kids who graduate college and 3 years later they won't get the hell out of your basement.
Right.
That's what the daycare is now. Get out. Go. Get out. when you spend that much money and have that much talent, you better win 90 games. 90 games should be your floor when you have this much talent, this much pitching, this much starting pitching, and then this much talent.
Right.
I get what you're feeling, though. I get what you're feeling.
Like, they got old. Quick.
Is it quick? I've been saying this for 2 years, that this thing was built wrong. They didn't get old quick. I think your eyes are open to it.
Maybe.
Look at the amount of money John Middleton's playing to that roster. Don't be blaming the coaches for gagging in the playoffs.
I
you
think
guys
you just
did
listed
that.
everything.
But they don't do that. Don't point at the managers.
It is good to be back.
But don't point at the manager. Don't point at the coaches. Point at yourselves. Point at the fact is, how much money is John Middleton paying this lineup? And we suck in the clutch against Houston, against Arizona, and against the Mets? How come we constantly gag when the pressure's on? That's where the pressure is.
Well, he didn't blame ownership.
Begin and end the conversation there.
I think guys have hit their ceiling. Yeah. And I think there are a lot of older players where you have to start thinking, all right, can they continue to play at this pace? Bryce Harper's still going to be good this year.
Sure he is.
I'm not saying he's going to fall off after the season. But I look around this core, I look around this lineup. It's very similar to last year's. I think we have to stop believing that certain guys are going to have either resurgences or are going to all of a sudden play differently than what they've been doing the last couple of years. Again, Stott's the exception because I think he can hit that 290, be that 290.
You're saying like a Real Muto who has been a downward. It's a down staircase on Real Muto.
It has been. Yeah.
And I heard people on the broadcast the other day saying, let's get him another 3 years. Like, how much further down the stairs do you want to go?
Yeah, he's 34.
I mean, my God.
He's caught a lot of innings. So I got the sense leaving Clearwater that this is not like from the front office, right? This is me. This is Andrew Salciunas.
This is your gut instinct.
My gut instinct is they're going to be good this year, but it almost feels like it's all or nothing this year. All right, that is the Kincade Salciunas Key 3 best minutes from today's show. It was good to be back today.
It's pretty awesome to have you back. It was great to have you back.
Talking about the fighting Phils.
Yes, it's good. It's opening week.
The vibe down there, I know I chimed in with you guys every single day, but the vibe down there, like everybody's excited. Every single person was excited. Now then again, they're in sunny Clearwater. There's orange crushes flowing, and you're at a ball game and all kinds of stuff. So everyone was in a good mood except for one person.
I would just one person.
My son posted a photo of him standing at the fence. Oh, it was a cute little photo.
That was awesome. No, that was a picture. My wife said you guys should frame that.
Yeah, it was a great picture.
At the house.
He accidentally stepped on a woman's towel.
On her towel?
Uh-huh.
You mean like a rally towel?
No, like you're on the berm, the grass there.
Okay.
You can sit on. You can bring your own towel. And sit on. And he stepped on it. And he ran back to us, and then he went back down. I did feel bad because he was kind of in their view. So I went down and said, Coop, come on, buddy, you're in their way. He stepped on our towel.
Are you kidding me?
I go, he's 3.
How old?
He's
the
3.
Woman complaining?
She had kids with her that were probably close to my age.
So probably in her 50s?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Yo, Karen.
And I'm
lighten up.
I go, yeah.
It's a child.
I'm sorry for that. He's 3. Well, he shouldn't be stepping on our stuff.
Oh, my gosh.
He's 3.
Oh, my gosh.
Man, it must have been tough growing up in that house.
Where do people get so miserable?
Now, this is the difference between me and you.
Yeah.
Did you just take it and walk away?
I picked up Coop, and I said, I promise it won't happen again. And then I may have heckled from behind a couple of times.
Good. All right, I'm proud of you. No, I'm actually proud of you.
Because she
someone's
started
that miserable.
I saw her aggressively wiping off the towel.
Oh, come on.
And I said, I hope that towel's clean.
Yeah.
Lady, you're going to sit your rear on that towel in 5 seconds.
No, she already was sitting her rear on that towel.
That bothers me. That really bothers me. It's about children, for God's sake.
Yeah, come on.
Hey, support life-saving cancer research. Join our generous partner, HH Heating and Air Conditioning, and make a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research. You can do it at 975thefanatic.com/AACR because cancer research saves lives. I'm living proof of that.
Damn right. Meanwhile, all the kids that were rolling around in the grass, I'm like, this is the one you're upset with?
That's so terrible.
Yeah, well.
That's a miserable,
even in the beautiful sunny outfield of Clearwater, Florida, you can still find a way to be miserable. It's unbelievable. Everybody have a great rest of your day. Mike Missanelli Show with Bill Colarulo and Ray Dunn comes your way next. We'll be back here on 97.5 The Fanatic.